Wide open Torrence. Oh, baby, touchdown. How do you leave the best receiver in the NAIA that wide open?
You show, and that's what we do. Cat.
You're proud of me?
And it's caught! Oh my goodness! Troy Torrence comes down with it!
Welcome all to Bankroll Blitz. We are week 2, and a lot has gone on in the NFL in a short period of time. Thank you guys for joining. I see a bunch of great cappers in the chat. It was a roller coaster of a first week. I ended up 8-7 plus 0.33 units, and I'll take it. It felt like the spots where I was wrong, I was very wrong, but I will take it. KC, Baltimore under 46 on Thursday night. Others got a better line, and it cost me. New England, Cincinnati under 40.5 cashed. Patriots team total under 16.5 was the biggest week 1 single bet I've ever made before, and I was pretty fortunate that it cashed. I mean, it was possible to go for it on 4th down there in your own territory. They punted with 2:45 left, and that really saved me. Pittsburgh, Atlanta under 42, easy casher. Titans +4. We'll talk about that spot. I mean, just hard for me to comprehend how we didn't get paid on that one. Panthers +4.5 was horrific. Minnesota, New York Giants under 41.5 cash. Browns -2.5 was horrific. Rams, Detroit. I got under 51 here on the show. I bet it again at under 54 prior to the game starting, and that was just a sit back, relax, and a nice casher, very important casher. And then Jets +4.5 was horrific. Eagles -1.5 was a nice way to bounce back from the Thursday night under that I lost by a point. Raiders +3 was very poor. Looking back at it, the Dallas Cleveland under 42.5 was horrible, and then Colts +3 cashed. Overall 8-7, plus 0.33 units. Troy, my friend, I know you had a very difficult week, and I know you don't need to hear it from me, but for anybody who had a tough week 1 here, 1 week does not a season make. You are what your numbers say you are, and if a sample size is too small, then it can't be trusted. And 1 week is too small of a sample size. We all saw what you did with us last year. Last year, you were up 38.97 units with an ROI plus 9.15% on this show. That was over 426 bets. So our show is always going to be about transparency and honesty with our record keeping. And you had a tough week. Take us through it, my friend.
Man, I'm no stranger to this type of variance. We talked about it before the show started. Just why did the highs have to be so high and the lows so low? Like, it's just all or nothing. It feels like when it rains, it pours. Had a bad week. I think it was week 2 or week 3 last year. I was sitting about down the same amount, down 7-8 units. And, there's one destination, and that's to be profitable, be in the green by the end of the year. I'll be quick because, I post all my action on Twitter. There's a summary of that. Ravens +3. I lost that game by a toe. I had the under at push, so I guess, at best I was looking for a push in that spot. I had the Eagles triple up, money line -2, -2.5. Cashed all of them. That was great. Great way to start. And then the next thing up is Panthers, which I also bet 3 times, +4, +4.5, and the money line. That didn't come through. And if you look at all the dogs were not barking this week. The public was barking. Dogs were cashing on the money line. All the teasers, all except for the Bengals, of course, which, of course, that's the one I was involved with. I lost with the Colts Bengals teaser. I cashed with the Colts +2.5, which was good. Cardinals +6, Cardinals money line. I feel like this could have been better. I pushed and lost on the money line. The money line was very live in that game. Don't get that twisted. I don't want to be results oriented. I know the market, I wasn't enamored with the market, but I still, liked where that game ended, even though don't be results oriented. Browns was clearly the wrong side. Lost 3 bets on it, but both 2.5 twice in a money line. The Raiders +3, the Raiders money line. I lost both of those. I feel like I was on the right side of those games, and things did not fall my way. I was not impressed with the Chargers. We'll talk about that today. The Lions Rams under 54.5. I was actually pretty heavy on this spot. I was looking for it. We talked about it last week. We wanted it. I waited for the number to go up. I'm not worried about line movement in the 50s. And I went under the total. That was beautiful. Had the teaser with Lions and the under that cash. Brees Hall over 28.5 was my only bright spot because I lost 4 bets on the Jets, 3 on the spread and the money line. And that was painful. But it just made me more excited to get back into it for this week, man. I'm ready to go.
And I'm ready to rock with you. And so are all these great cappers in the chat. TJ Parks ready to roll. He cashed the over 3.5 field goals last night in 49ers Jets. He had 2. That was a thing of beauty. Londo in the house, ready to get to work. Dennis Garcia says preparation is done. Bets are in. I'm ready to yell at everyone. Spenny Pennybomb said 49ers knew that CMC had Achilles tendonitis, but proceeded to make everybody think he was a game time decision, full well knowing he's going to be out at least a while, and only said shit because Jordan Mason blabbed. Now that this is becoming, out of the dark recesses and legalized across North America, these things are going to happen. And it's just, it's just, at least they're out in the open a little more than they used to be. Gordon Kofsky in the house. Sammy Comer says, what's good? Bills, Raiders, Panthers, Packers, Vikings, Bengals. He is eyeing. There is Nut Flush 16, Nut Flush Allen in the house. Lazard got him paid in full. Dougie Wise ready to get to work says, what an ass beating last night. Yes. Ugly stuff. Ugly stuff. Kent Davies ready to get to work. There's the truth teller in the house. Chosen 1D Jenkins. Dennis Garcia says Tennessee +4, the most disgusting beat. It certainly was. It's still bothersome. Had them in the contests. Bothersome. Mac Beavers in the house, ready to go. We got Big Daddy Boom Leo Leon ready to go. Slatsy 45 in the house. Great to see all of you guys. D Jenkins, Coin. Thank you guys for joining us. Birdie ready to get to work and saturated here in the house. Well, let's do exactly that and get to work. We start Thursday, September 12th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. We got a beauty on our hands. Buffalo Bills at Miami Dolphins, Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. Weather's nice, 84 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 4 miles per hour is the wind. Let's take a look at the line history. I have made 5 bets on the card, and I feel okay with them, but I haven't moved on this game, and I find it very, very interesting. Let's talk about the line movement here. We'll use Pinnacle line moves. This opened up at Pinnacle with the Dolphins -1.5 at -107. Right now, they're -1.5 at -122. So there's been 15 cents of movement towards the Miami Dolphins, but you can get a different story at different books. Bet Online, let's go over there. We have Bet Online. Bet Online opened this up -2 for the Dolphins, and this was down to -1. This was down to -1 on Sunday evening. So now it's come back. It got all the way up to 2.5, and then back down to 1.5, and now it's at 2. So there's been 2 cents of movement, just 2 cents of movement over at Bet Online. Let's go over to the total here for this one. From a total perspective, we have a 48.5. This total just continues to drop. Opened up 51, under 51 -109. There was a 4-cent move immediately to the under. That took about 30 minutes for that 4-cent move. 3 minutes after that, there was another 5-cent move. Then not even an hour after that, they moved it to 50.5, and it just kept dropping. 49.5, 48.5 right now. There are a lot of 49s out there. You can still get 49s, but Bookmaker, Bovada, and Pinnacle all at 48.5. Take a look at the cash flow, see if it correlates.
Hey, Jimmy, I want to mention something on the cash flow. If you go ahead and click through some of the cash flow situations, I mean, we're talking about a very similar market in every single game. Massive sharp action on one side, almost the exact same splits. I don't know how much we want to look and consider cash flow today because it is so odd.
Yeah, it's,
It doesn't make sense, Jim. It's got to be wrong. It's got to be wrong.
Well, the spots where the lines moved against me were my best cashes last week. The spots that the market went with me were my most horrific losses. So, yeah, I do think that the market is confused right now, and we need to be consciously aware of that and hopefully use it to our advantage. But here, the Dolphins have 21% of the tickets and 82% of the cash on the spread, 69 and 64 on the money line. On the total, 25% of tickets and 75% of cash on the under. Clearly, it's sharp action on this under. Let's talk about what happened yesterday and hear what you guys have in the chat. Kent Davies on Tua under 267.5 yards passing. Dougie Wise on the Dolphins +2. Saturated on James Cook anytime touchdown. And Kent Davies got James Cook over 2.5 catches here. Christopher Comentini says the Bills know how to play Miami. And Nutflush says, check the weather. This is the time of year where there's storms that come in and out, but it's pretty tame at this point on Thursday evening. 84 Fahrenheit, as I said, cloudy, 4 miles per hour. Bills opened up the season with a 34-28 home victory over the Cardinals. Came back from a 17-3 deficit late in the second quarter. Josh Allen, 18-23 for 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. He did lose a fumble, as per usual. He also ran 9 times for 39 yards and 2 touchdowns. He left the game with his left non-throwing hand heavily wrapped. McDermott said Allen will be good to go. That's being confirmed from a couple different places. There is questions. Does he have enough weapons? Keon Coleman led receivers with 4 catches for 51 yards. Khalil Shakir caught 3 for 42. And Dalton Kincaid did not get the year off to a good start with just 1 catch for 11 yards on 2 targets. James Cook ran 19 times for 71 yards and caught 3 passes for 32 yards. He's playing exceptionally well. The Bills were just 3 of 9 on third down. They were 4 of 6 in the red zone. Their defense did not look good in the first half, but it got better as the game went on. The pass rush, I've been questioning all offseason. Greg Rousseau has 3 sacks in the game. Is he going to step up now? He needs to. Von Miller.
He looked so good to me. I was so surprised to see that man play.
He forced a fumble as well. It was a turning point in the football game. That's a career high, 3 sacks for Rousseau. That was huge. Dorian Williams recovered it. Arizona's 21. Bill scored the go-ahead touchdown. Dwayne Smoot expected to miss a second straight game at defensive end. So this is what they did with their top 3 edge rushers. Greg Rousseau played 79% of the snaps. Epinesa 62%. And Von Miller 48%. Those are high totals for those guys. Very high totals for those guys. Nickelback. Jesus, sorry, it's horrible. Why would I mention that horrible band? Nickel cornerback Teron Johnson got hurt on the 7th play of the game. He'll be unavailable this week with a forearm injury. They had to go with Cam Lewis as his replacement. Then cornerback Jamarcus Ingram had to play the 3rd safety when Buffalo did go to the dime packages and use 6 defensive backs. Lewis is starting against the Dolphins. The Dolphins come in off an underwhelming 2017 home victory over the Jags that was overshadowed by Tyreek Hill's detainment by police before the game. I'm sure we've all seen the footage. We don't need to get into it. I didn't like the footage. I do believe that Tyreek Hill should be given the benefit of the doubt. He could have been more attentive to the officers' needs. But the star player on a team in front of his stadium should be given every luxury and be escorted into the stadium. And he should be given the benefit of the doubt immediately. And he wasn't. And we don't need to talk about the overzealous cop, though I think looks like an idiot. They all look bad in the situation, but we don't need to have that conversation here. Jaguars were up 17-7 at the half. Dolphins outscored them 13-0 in the second half. Won it on Sanders' 52-yard field goals. Time expired. Tua 23 of 37 for 338 yards and a touchdown. We all heard about the speech at halftime. We're all watching Tua become a real leader, and it's great to see. The running game was really weak. Now, Tyreek caught 7 for 130 and a touchdown. 80 came on that one play. Waddle caught 5 for 109 yards, but the running game really struggled, something that we did not see last year. Jeff Wilson Jr. led with 5 carries for 26 yards. Mostert, 6 carries for 9 yards, caught 2 for 10. Achan ran 10 times for 24 yards and a touchdown. Now, he did catch 7 passes for 76 yards. He's dealing with an ankle injury. Of course, he was a non-participant Monday. He's listed as questionable, expected to be good to go. The offense was 8 of 16 on third down. They're trusting Calais Campbell, to do a lot. And he did a lot. 3 tackles, 2 for a loss, 1 sack, got handcuffed, trying to help out his friend Tyreek Hill. He's going to be a leader on this football team. Can he make it through a 17-game season? 38-year-old Calais Campbell. They were very thankful to have Jalen Phillips back healthy. He finished with 2 tackles and a sack. The secondary looked very strong. Trevor Lawrence to 12 of 21 for 162 yards and a touchdown. The turning point in the game came when safety Javon Holland punched the ball out of Etienne's hand as he tried to cross the finish line, the goal line. Tyreek Hill, of course, had that 80-yard score play later. Miami's offense had not looked good before that big play to Tyreek. They turned the ball over on downs twice and punted 4 times before Hill's touchdown. if we're basing this under down to 48.5 on the Dolphins not looking good offensively and the Bills playing a little better with having a little stronger pass rush than we expected, it doesn't make sense to me. Are we basing that under going down because these highlight showcase games always or have a high ROI on unders? It doesn't really make sense to me, honestly. I don't want to get in the way of it right now, but it doesn't make sense to me. Take it away for us here, Troy Torrance, Thursday nighter, game 1, Bills Dolphins.
This market is the type of market that looks extremely bullish, in my opinion, or at least to me it does. It reminds me of the short lines that I bet in MLB, the divisional matchups with the short -120 to +120 lines, and it's something I'm going to take advantage of all season long. Dolphins at home in division, line moving their way. They're 4-0 straight up in ATS over the last 2 seasons. Bills on the road in division, line moving away from them, are 1-3 straight up and ATS over the last 3 seasons. Both of these teams are 5-1 to the under based on home road dichotomy. So when they're in Miami, it goes with the Bills on the road, they go under. Same with Dolphins at home going under. So there's a lot of reasons to like this under, to just touch on your last point. And it just, also looking at divisional games in prime time, going under at just ridiculous rates. So I feel like there is some reasons to like the under. And then you think about the injury to Josh Allen. Is he going to lower his head to pick up first downs, diving in the end zone, taking out 4 blockers or taking out 4 defenders? We're not going to see that probably. He's going to be very hesitant with if he's really as injured as they're leading us on to believe. Looking at this Dolphins team, I was so surprised to see how they graded out from a pass blocking and run blocking standpoint. And I think it definitely, and I talk about this all the time, that it's definitely a product of the coordinator and the scheme. It's impacting it because the RPO, which this is the best RPO in the NFL, 7 attempts for 183 yards in the RPO, including the Tyreek Hill 99-yard touchdown. So, what I seen out of the Dolphins was obviously they came out the gate slow. Both these teams came out the gate slow because the Bills were facing a 17-3 deficit. And they were able to put up points, but it's also another reason to like the under, in my opinion, because they wouldn't have been playing that style of offense if they weren't chasing by so much. So I do think that they will probably be much less effective in terms of putting up big yards and big points for the Bills. They did average 0.206 EPA per play. I think it was the best in the NFL in week 1. I mean, both these teams are teams that I still want to learn more about, but just based on this market alone, how could I not be bullish on this spot just looking at the history? And if it gets, I really want to see that 2.5. I bet it at 2. So I bet the Eagles, or I bet the Dolphins. I bet the Dolphins -2. I bet a money line. I'd use the boost to bet the money line, but you could put me down for the money line officially, Jim. And I wouldn't mind the 2.5. I mean, really, that's what I want to see. I want to see this market closing at 2.5, and I'll be pretty confident in my action. Also, most importantly, line functionality. This is the first time the Dolphins have been favorites against the Eagles. The Dolphins and the Eagles get me so freaking confused for some reason. So confused. 2 years in a row, always with that mistake. Dolphins. This is the first time the Dolphins are favorites over the Bills since 2018. I'm going to let that line functionality lead the way. I'm on the Dolphins.
Dolphins money line in the -2. From an X's and O's perspective, forget primetime unders. From what we saw from these teams in the game 1 and what we expect from them, why is this dropping down to 48.5, man? It just it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. The Bills have showed no reason to think that they can stop the Dolphins. They can't stop the Cardinals. And just because the Dolphins have this very poor offensive game with all that's going on with Tyreek and Calais and all these things going through their head, and they need the impassioned speech from Tua at halftime. This doesn't make sense to me. And I didn't have the balls to stand in the way of it. Now I hear Dennis Garcia getting in the way of it. And it doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't. It's gone too far. These are high scoring electric offenses. Now, maybe there's weapons missing for the Bills, but they have Josh Allen. Also, fumble-rooski Josh Allen, making mistakes Josh Allen, even though he didn't throw any picks in game 1. It doesn't make sense to me that this has gone too far. And I want to get in the way of it now.
Well, I must say that the fact that the total is so high and the fact that it is moving towards the under also favors the home team. And I'm not going to blame you if you're looking towards the other way from that standpoint. One thing that swayed me over to the Dolphins is the fact that they run RPO, and historically the Bills have had 2 primetime great coverage linebackers to defend the RPO properly. They're not there no more. This is a new unit. No Milano. I could see there's definitely angles to play this over, Jim.
Dutch boy fresh right with you says big game for the Finns, short week, lost 4 straight to the Bills, and Allen banged up.
And a lot of times, Jim, the line movement on the total over 48, it's misleading. Just like I was on the under in the Lions game, it was moving it was moving up. I would not be concerned as much. Like if you feel confident, I think it's a good play.
I will no, but I needed to talk it out. I needed somebody in the chat like Dennis Garcia to say he believes in it too. I going up against a move that opens up at 52 and goes to 48.5. It's not a comfortable thing. It's not what we want to do in gambling. I mean, I don't, at least. It's not.
And this year could be the anomaly too. This is the first, the primetime unders, and last 2 years, first week 1 dogs, right? Primetime unders, week 1 dogs went up in flames. So the primetime under too, you could put it next to that potentially. Yeah, Jim, I like it.
I like that you guys are on the Dolphins. I find it a coin flippy side situation. I can't. I feel uncomfortable, and maybe if it closes at 2.5, if it's a juice 2.5, maybe that should. But I just, whoever has the ball last is going to win. There's going to be points scored in the 4th quarter. I mean, look at that Colts Texans game. I mean, that was 15-13 going into the 4th quarter. And
maybe if I sent you the sample I'm looking at right now, with very, very corollary teams in this type of spot, in a divisional home spot, maybe you come around on the Dolphins.
Well, please do. We're going to move on from this one. Troy, on the Dolphins money line and the -2, what was the juice on both of those?
-110 and -140. The -110, yeah, -110, -140.
And on the -140, you got a boost to turn it into like a plus
108.
Plus 108. Okay, but we'll use the -140.
Yeah, -140.
Vincent Hawkins says, play with the over live, fellas. I want something in my pocket. I want it in my pocket before the game starts. And it's not a need for action, too, because we're going to be live betting this on Thursday night on our live stream. So Brady says, I think there are better total spots. We still need to learn what these offenses are. You know what? I'm gonna move on the over here. It's just too low. Gordon Kowski says Buffalo has no names in the wide receivers room. This is the NFL. And that's a pretty decent secondary for Miami, but this has gone too far in my estimation. We move on. We move to Sunday, September 15th, 1 p.m. Eastern, with the New Orleans Saints coming off a nice victory at the Dallas Cowboys, coming off an excellent victory. We're at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Let's get into the line history here for this one. Pinnacle line moves. This is at a 45.5, and it's juiced to the over. Opened up at 44.5, now at 45.5. You see 46s at other books. Shout out to the Cheshire Cat. Thank you for the dono, my friend. Means a ton here. Thank you. And from a spread perspective, let's get into that here. Cheshire blessing our action. We have Dallas -6.5 at -105. Opened up at 6, now 6.5. -105. It is slightly juiced to the Saints at the 6.5 number. Let's get into the cash flow for this spot. We have 18% of the tickets and 92% of the cash on the Cowboys. 78% of the tickets and 85% of cash on the over. Londo on the Cowboys -6.5. Birdie bet the Cowboys -6.5. Spenny Pennybomb says Cowboys. Now, Birdie was bullish against us when we were on the Browns last week, and it was a spectacular call by our friend Birdie. Coin says teams that recorded big week 1 divisional wins by 7 points or more are 27 and 23 straight up, 27, 19, and 2 against the spread since 2006 in week 2. And that was the New Orleans Saints here. Saints coming off that dominant 47-10 home victory over the lowly Panthers, up 30-0 before the Panthers put up any points. It was a very impressive debut for Clint Kubiak. I mean, how could it have been any more impressive? First game calling plays, most points Saints have ever scored in the season opener. Derek Carr, 19 and 23 for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I don't believe in him, but he finished the year strong. Had a really nice last 5 games of the year. Now he had a good opener. Rashid Shaheed caught 3 passes for 73 yards and a touchdown. Foster Moreau caught 443. Now, he was pulled from the game with concussion symptoms after a first down catch in the fourth quarter. He's in protocol right now. Chris Olave was nowhere to be found. Just 2 catches for 11 yards. We'll talk about the star receivers that didn't get many looks. He only got those 2 targets. Alvin Kamara, 15 carries for 83 yards and a touchdown. He caught 5 passes for 27 yards. They continued this streak of not having a 20-yard run, but he had a great game. Saints ran 37 times for 180 yards as a team. The pass rush was strong throughout the game. Cornerback Alontae Taylor, 6 tackles and 3 sacks. Ooh-wee, the Tennessee product, 25 years old, sets the New Orleans record and ties the NFL record for most sacks in the game by a defensive back. Will Harris and Jordan Howden had interceptions. Left guard Lucas Patrick left the game with a toe injury in the first half, and Marshawn Lattimore left with a hamstring injury. Now, it's considered minor. He's listed as questionable to go this week. That's a big piece there. Cowboys looked very good in their 33-17 victory at Cleveland. Dak secures $240 million, 19 of 32 for 179 yards and a touchdown. $60 million per year in new money. CeeDee Lamb caught 5 passes for 61 yards, also ran 3 times for 25 yards. The running game looked better than I expected it to. Zeke looked a little better, 10 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown. And then CeeDee Lamb, those 3 carries for 25 yards is helpful. So Dak gets paid 2 weeks after CeeDee gets that $136 million contract. Brandon Cooks caught 4 for 40 and a touchdown. The pass rush looked excellent. 6 sacks, 17 quarterback hits. I mean, is that the Browns offensive line looking weak? Or is that DeMarcus Lawrence healthy? 2 sacks, 3 tackles for a loss, 4 quarterback hits. Micah Parsons, 1 sack, but 5 quarterback hits. The defense was very strong. Held the Browns to 2 of 15 on 3rd down. Is that a case, again, of the Browns offense being much worse than we expected it to be? At the half, they'd held the Browns to 1 first down and just 54 yards of offense. Eric Kendricks and Trayvon Diggs had interceptions. Aubrey, this guy can kick from the moon. It's such a weapon. He kicks from 57, 50, 46, and 40. We saw what Boz did for the Steelers. It's a luxury. Jake Ferguson limped off the field with a left knee injury after being tackled on a short completion. It's a bone bruise and a sprain of the medial collateral ligament in his knee. He's going to miss time. Now, he's not yet being ruled out for week 2, but he's not going to be on in the lineup on Sunday. Take it away for us here, Troy. Saints, Cowboys in Arlington, Texas.
As you're kind of breaking the game down, I'm thinking to myself, what's the one variable that we could believe in? What's the one performance from these offenses or defenses that we can believe in? And the one that sticks out to me is the Cowboys' ability to produce and be efficient versus the Browns defense. And I know you could look at the game, the end of the game metrics and say, they only generated, they were 29% on 3rd down, 4.3 yards per play. I know it's not impressive on paper, but that's because they didn't have to do shit in the second half. They could have punted it on 1st down and won that game. They knew it. They called the plays accordingly. You got to give them credit for not blowing it. And I may have underestimated this offense. I'm still not fully bought in, but I'm not going to let the metrics on paper from the end of that game lead me in any direction, because what CeeDee Lamb is doing at wide receiver is truly impressive. I actually believe that he's the best wide receiver in the league as of right now, as of today. After some of the numbers I was looking at, and when you just watch him run the ball, catch the ball, anything he's doing, the athleticism he brings to the table, it's just incredible. And the Saints, they played the Panthers. You could put a lot more. You can give a lot of credit to whoever you want. I don't believe it until I see it. I was really low on this Saints offense and defense. I don't think I'm ready to change that. The defense was great, right? This was the worst offensive performance I think I've ever seen. And still, the Saints defense graded out as 26th in pass rush and 13th in coverage. That's not that impressive. I believe in the Cowboys offense, and what I've seen with the Cowboys offense against the Browns, I kind of think this could turn into a blowout. When you look in the market, you look at the Cowboys at home priced in this range, market moving towards them. They are 5-0 straight up, 5-0 straight up, 4-1 ATS, winning by 20 points on average. These are blowout type of situations for the Cowboys at home. And I don't know if we should expect quite the letdown from the Cowboys that we originally thought. And that was an oversight on me. and I apologize for anybody who followed me on the Browns because it was disgusting. And we'll get to the Browns later. I'm on the Cowboys, Jim. I'm on the Cowboys. I bet at -6. I bet a money line parlay with the Colts, and I'm very bullish on the Cowboys this week.
Cowboys with a money line Colts parlay. We'll get into the numbers on that. What was the -6 here?
-115.
-115. Nice job. I agree.
Why? What's in the markets right now? Is there no 6s? There was
6.5s now. Let me just see if there are. Oh no, you can still get 6s. Yeah.
6 -115 at Bet Chris.
No. Oh yes, at Bet Chris. That's the last one. That's the last one left. I mean, I did 6.5. That doesn't concern me. Yeah, I agree with this breakdown. I think we're getting the benefit of the Saints blowing out the Panthers.
This might be the best sell high spot on this Saints team that we see for the rest of the season. If you told me that they scored 47 points and Olave had 2 catches for 11 yards, I would be shocked if I didn't watch the game with my own 2 eyes.
No, I'm very interested in joining you. I can hook you up with the cash flow here. D. Jenkins once more.
The same. I mean, it's probably the same as what it always is. It is. Sharp action is on Dallas. 18% at bets, 91% of money. And you see that across the market, like pretty much every game right now.
And 78 and 85 on the over. And Dennis saying, as an Eagles fan, he was just so happy to see this contract come in for Dak. Anybody who dislikes the Cowboys was applauding and thankful and excited, and it's going to be a very uncomfortable contract very soon, very, very soon. Jeff Slaughter says Cowboys win by 4-6. Take that hook, I'm telling y'all. So yeah, Harold Williams says Dallas is overrated. I certainly had question marks around their running game, and I don't know if the Saints defense will give us a real litmus test for the running game. Kent Davies says I could see Dowdle scoring 2 touchdowns, 100+ rushing and 100+ receiving. And Perfect Rotation says Dallas wins by 2 scores. So yes, that would be me rolling with you, Orlando. And Ziggy Ball says the perception will be the Saints beat the horrible Panthers and the Cowboys with a blowout win. He likes the Saints against the spread. I think we're going to hear a lot of that. I think we're going to hear a lot of action on the Saints. I think it'll be sharp action, and I obviously would like this to close at 7.5. So we'll just kind of watch where it goes. If this closes at 6 or 5.5, we'll know that we're in big trouble. Johnny Gunn says the over is so enticing. I need to see the Saints offense here. And
the Saints offensive line graded out as the best pass blocking unit in the NFL in week 1. We know that's not true. We know it's not the case.
Yeah, I'm willing to take the chance here. Joseph one says Dallas scoring 30+. I mean, if Dallas scores 30+, this game's going over. I don't feel that as an appealing spot here because I just don't trust what we saw from the Saints. But I'm interested. I'm interested in joining here. I'll have to.
I mean, this market right now is currently looking exactly like the Cowboys Rams or the Cowboys Jets last year. 30-10, they win by 20. It's the same exact shit. Cowboys Rams 43-20. No, man.
Nutflush says if you want to play the over, play the Dallas team total over. Johnny Gunn says based off of last week and last year, Dallas lets up off the gas. Jermaine saying Lattimore may not play. Dallas rolls by at least 9. And then I'll heed Jeff's advice and see what the price is for the 6. But I'm interested in joining, and I don't have a lot of interest in the total. But let's move on to a game where I have enormous interest in the double, in the total, I should say. And I said double because yes, I doubled up on this total. Now I'm a little late to the party. I don't think it's going to hurt me here. And you guys know that 9 out of my 10 total bets are on unders. I don't really, I feel like that's an easier angle and edge for me. I'm on the first half over 24.5 Buccaneers Lions at -110. I'm on the full game over 51.5 at -110. I got that at 365 today. It was about -116 at Pinnacle at the time. Let's see what it is now on both of these spots. So this is my first double up on a total. That's my first double up. Oh, I guess no, I doubled up on the Rams Lions under. Let's take a look at the side here. We'll start there. The Lions -7 at -111. They opened up at 6.5. They opened up yesterday at 452 at 6.5 -110. Within 30 minutes, this moved 15 cents towards the Lions. And then 3 minutes after that, they moved it to a 7. And then when they moved it to a 7, it was juiced to the Lions. That's a power move there. Now it's come back a bit, but we're sitting -7 at -111 on the Lions. And that doesn't appeal to me that much. But I understand why the market's moving, and we'll discuss the injuries here at cornerback for the Buccaneers and how good their offense looked. Right now, we have a 52 at -105. I like to see that. This, as I said, this was 51.5 -116 when I moved on it. So now it's a 52. I like to see that. As I said, I got that 51.5 at -110. And let's talk about the cash flow here with this one. 66% of the tickets and 93% of the cash is on the over. And, you know, if books that brought, you know, that opened this lineup earlier than Sunday, you know, you could have got a 48.5 and a 49 on the over. I didn't, and I'm okay with that. I mean, okay is not the right word, but I'm going to deal with the consequences that come betting it later. 11% of the tickets and 74% of the cash is on the Detroit Lions. Londo on the Lions -6, and Mac Beaver saying this Bucs secondary is beat up. And let's go over that right now. The Buccaneers coming off an impressive 37-20 victory at home over the Commanders. Baker Mayfield, it's the best he's ever looked. Best I've ever seen him look. He's as confident, and he doesn't need to tell you about it anymore. I guess that's the difference. Maybe that's what happens when you get $100 million. You don't need to tell everybody how good you are. He was excellent. 24 of 30 for 289 yards and 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. You know, it helps having Godwin and Evans. Godwin caught 8 for 83 and a touchdown. Evans caught 5 for 61 and 2 touchdowns. And Bucky ran 9 times for 62 yards, their 4th round pick out of Oregon. Rashad White ran 15 times for 31 yards, but caught 6 for 75 yards. And you want to talk about, now look, maybe the Commanders' defense is horrific right now, and that's a legit possibility. But the Bucs were 9 of 13 on 3rd down. The pass rush only had 2 sacks, but the defense looked strong all afternoon, held the Commanders to just 2 of 8 on 3rd down. So the Commanders went 3 of 3 in the red zone, and that's something that you'll see the Lions be able to do as well. Let's go through the injuries that are the biggest concern for the Buccaneers. First off, just Kalijah Kancey and Logan Hall, 2 defensive linemen, didn't play. They're out. They're both listed as questionable this week. But we start with star safety Antoine Winfield. We know how important he is. He had a walking boot on his right foot after the game. He's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks. Cornerback Zion McCollum dealing with a concussion. He left in the first quarter, did not return. He's in concussion protocol. Cornerback Bryce Hall carted off the field early in the 3rd quarter, and the right ankle injury is season ending. Then you have reserve cornerback Josh Hayes, ankle injury. He was ruled out in the second half. He's listed as questionable right now. So the injuries to their secondary didn't hurt them against the Commanders. Scary Terry, Luke McCaffrey, Olamide Zaccheaus, Jamison Crowder. Those 4 combined for 7 catches for 55 yards. It will hurt them against the Lions, especially after Amon-Ra St. Brown, coming off a poor first game and wanting to send a message when everybody's talking about Jameson. Lions coming off an underwhelming 26-20 overtime victory over the Rams at home in their season opener, and it was perfect for us. We cashed heavily on the under, and it was very helpful. Jared Goff, 18 of 28 for 217 yards, touchdown, interception. They only had 7 first downs through the air. And as I said, Amon-Ra caught 3 passes for 13 yards. Now, he was targeted 6 times. Williams caught 5 for 121 and a touchdown. Montgomery ran 17 for 91. Jahmyr Gibbs ran 11 for 40, caught 4 for 34. While the offense didn't look good, I liked what I saw from the defense. Pass rush finished with 2 sacks, but 12 quarterback hits. Aiden Hutchinson had 1 sack and 4 quarterback hits. Marcus Davenport healthy right now. had a half sack and 4 quarterback hits. Kirby Joseph had a pick. It was a bend but don't break defense. I mean, they allowed the Rams to put up 387 yards, but they held them to 2 of 5 in the red zone. And this defense will only get stronger. Now, DJ Reader, will he be good to go this week? I don't know. And if he does go, how many snaps will he see? I don't know, 30%, 25%. And Melifonwu, a backup safety, inactive with the ankle injury. But I loved what I saw from the Buccaneers offense. And the Buccaneers offense can score in the red zone. And when Puka Nacua was not there, it's a little easier to focus everything on Cooper Kupp. And I know that the Rams have other weapons, but I see points here. First half over, full game over, big investment. Take it away, Troy.
I'm going back and forth on this game. Back and forth on the total too. And it's exactly what you're kind of harping on is the Bucs offense. It looked like they picked up exactly where they left off in 2023, despite the loss of Canales. And what they did was impressive. I don't want to take any credit away from them, but again, it was against this defense, which I personally had power rated dead last in the NFL, and maybe Carolina Panthers have something to say about that. So it still remains to be seen from a Bucs offensive standpoint. I know I believe in the Bucs offense. So, right, if there's one unit I believe in, it's definitely the Bucs offense, because the defense, looking at what they did versus Commanders team, is a completely different story. They allowed efficiency on offense, 0.103 EPA per play, 5.2 yards per play, allowed 100% in the red zone. Interesting, because the Bucs defense was one of the best in the red zone last year. And PFF gave this Bucs an overall grade of 23rd. 20th or below in pass rush, run D, and coverage. And I think if you watch the tape back, I watched the first half of that game, I would say that bears to be true. They have absolutely no good run defenders in the box. I mean, Levante David was good against the run in 2019, but he hasn't been recently. They struggled against the run last year, and I expect that to continue. And they definitely struggled versus a mobile quarterback, but that doesn't really apply to this game. And the Lions, I mean, for right now, I'm going to keep them at the top of my power rankings. When push came to shove, I mean, what'd they do? They leaned down the trenches. They marched down the field, made it look extremely easy, and put up 6. I think the play calling was lackluster and pretty skeptical, to say the least. But all's well that ends well. Jameson Williams, he's kind of the story of this game. I mean, the guy looked freaking elite. Clearly low IQ, but elite. This Lions offense is probably I tend to favor teams with that are dominant in the run game, because to me it's the most telling variable in football. If team X is elite, any team could be elite if they have the ability to run the football, right? And it's not something that's way easier to execute than any type of pass you could draw up. So this is a very difficult game, and it's starting to make me, after hearing you break this down and thinking about what I'm looking at here, an over does look enticing, but it is 52. I don't like to bet overs in general, but I'll definitely be considering this one.
Londo says he leans to the under. Harold Williams leans to the under. Londo says Lions will get an early lead, grind out a low-scoring game. They just had a 17-3 lead, and that game went to overtime. You think that they're going to sit back with a lead again a week later and not put their foot down on the gas pedal? And it's part of the fun when colleagues and friends are on the other side of a bet. It's part of the fun. So
now I have to say, though, the defense, the Lions defense, and you'd agree, Jim, right? I mean, it looked night and day compared to last year. Maybe not night and day, but it's definitely improved year over year.
It looked complete.
It
looked complete on all levels of the defense.
It did. But at the same time, the Bucs' ability to score in the red zone, the options that they have, I see it. I can see an over in this game.
Well, I moved on it, a high over, and I don't bet overs very often. Great to see you guys. Brady says Reader will make a difference for the Lions D as well. He sure will. Old E in the house. We got Rants, Ziggy Balls. Thank you guys for joining us. That is Bucs Lions, and Troy has not yet made a move on it. I have doubled up on the over, 24.5 minus 110, 51.5 minus 110. We move on to Indianapolis Colts at Green Bay Packers. This is another double up spot for me. And when this moved back to the 3, I moved on it. I know that sharps are going to be on the Packers in this one. And immediately after I bet it, of course, I posted it. And a sharp named Dennis Garcia replied to it. And and I get it. I completely get it. He says Green Bay's my favorite play of the week. Can't wait to hear why you like Indy because I sure as heck can't come up with a reason. Now, also, I'm high on Indy. You know, I've got him to make the playoffs at plus 140. And then our friend Salty Pete says Jordan Love injury not a concern. Malik Willis. And Dennis says sure, but the look ahead line was Green Bay minus 4.5. So an 8-point swing seems exaggerated when we have no idea how LaFleur, a competent coach, is going to use Willis. And that is true. The problem I have with it, though, is that I've watched a lot of Malik Willis. And if you look at Malik Willis's stats before he was jettisoned by the Titans, his stats were the exact same as Trubisky. They were the exact same as Levis, except for sacks. This guy just doesn't understand pocket presence. He just doesn't get it. And I watch him get sacked over and over and over again. I watch his athleticism not help him because he doesn't feel the pressure or know when to throw it. He just doesn't. He is a ton of talent. But why does he get given up on by all these experts? I mean, how you want Trubisky over Malik Willis? Well, what is the problem with Malik Willis? And it's up here. It's up here. It's not talent. And I want to fade Malik Willis. Now, yes, the line is, the line swinging as far as it did. I didn't want it. I didn't want it until it got back to 3. And I knew, even when I bet, I was like, this is the kind of public spot that burns me. But it's also the type of public spot that I just can't leave alone. I don't want to sit there and watch Malik Willis play horrible and not be getting paid for it. And also, I like the Colts. I believe in the Colts. Colts coming off a wild 29-27 loss at home over the Texans. If you watch this spot, Anthony Richardson completed 9 passes, still threw for 212 yards. 2 touchdown passes and an interception, ran 6 times for 56 yards and touchdown. That 4th down when he ran in like a fullback, I mean, it gave me goosebumps watching his toughness. Alec Pierce caught, 125 yards in a touchdown, and he looked dynamic and dangerous. Doolin caught that 54-yard touchdown pass. Pittman is going to get all the attention from the defense. This is Pierce's chance to deliver. And look, they have problems at tight end. Mo Alley Cox and Kyle Granson, they didn't catch a pass. I mean, the Colts only had 4 passing first downs in that game. Look, this is a work in progress football team. Jonathan Taylor ran 16 times for 48 yards. And as I said, this was a tight defensive game until the two teams combined for 28 points in the fourth quarter. The pass rush was stout. They sacked C.J. Stroud 4 times. They hit him 10 times. And the defense just couldn't get enough stops. Texans put up 417 yards and 26 first downs. They couldn't stop the Texans on the ground. When you're going up against Malik Willis and you know that his arm can't beat you, you can fill the box up and hopefully curtail what was hurting you in that game. Because they couldn't stop the Texans on the ground, the Colts were killed in time of possession. The Texans had the ball for 40 minutes. Honestly, Troy, I do not remember a football game where a team had the ball for 40 minutes and didn't cover the field goal. Steichen and the Colts are a real deal. And to still deliver, now I know they were at home and only have the ball for 20 minutes and almost win that game, I felt was really, really impressive. The Packers began their season with a 34-29 loss to the Eagles in Brazil. Obviously they lost more than the game. They lost Jordan Love to the MCL sprain late in the 4th. Love's not going to be placed on the injured reserve. They're hoping he can come back in 3 weeks. The sprained MCL is expected to sideline him from 3 to 6 weeks. So, Malik Willis was traded to the Panthers for a 7th round pick in the 2025 draft. And, it was Rudolph not Trubisky. Rudolph was, I screwed that up. Sorry about that. Mason Rudolph is Will Levis's primary backup. But, I just don't believe in him. And he's got a very talented group of receivers. We saw Jaden Reed, what a monster. Caught 4 passes for 130 yards, touchdown. Also a 33-yard TD run on a jet sweep. I was going to bet the Colts in this game with Jordan Love at quarterback.
Yep.
So when this got back down to 3, and we'll go over the line history, I pulled the trigger. Yes, Josh Jacobs will take the pressure off him. Jacobs looked good, 16 carries for 84 yards. They're missing A.J. Dillon, Marshawn Lloyd. Defensively against the Eagles, the Packers just couldn't get stops. I mean, Jair Alexander, Xavier McKinney had interceptions, but the Eagles put up 25 first downs and 404 total yards. Now, the defense did hold the Eagles to 3-6 in the red zone, but I like this Colts team, and I think I have a huge advantage with a poor quarterback for the Packers. So this opened up with the Packers -5. This was back on August 22nd. On August 27th, it was a 4.5, and it got back to 5. So then on September 8th, on Sunday night, this opened up as a 3, and it immediately went to 3.5, and then it came back. Then it went to 3.5 again today, and it came back. So look, if this closes at a 2.5 or a 3, I'll be very uncomfortable. I understand this is going to be a very public spot, and I'm going to be going up against sharps who think that the Packers are a clearly a better football team than the Colts. And I still felt under all of this, I had to pull the trigger on it. 63% of tickets, 66% of cash on the Colts, 70% of tickets, and 62% cash on the over. Not only that, my disbelief in Malik Willis made me bet the under 41. I'm on the under 41 at -110. I simply do not believe the Packers are going to be able to put enough points to win or for this game to go over. Take it away, Troy. Colts, Packers.
You covered so much of how I wanted to cover this spot. And I mean, the way I kind of think about this game is if you look at the outcomes of this game on a scale, how many potential outcomes, what's the probability of the Packers winning by double digits, by more than a touchdown, by more than a field goal? It's very small under the current circumstances with who they're going to be running out on the field against Shane Steichen, which means that there's way more probability for the Cowboys or for the Colts to take care of business by a touchdown, a field goal, and so on. The scale is heavily tilted in favor of the Colts in this matchup. The offense for the Packers was impressive. I was impressed. I know Love made some mistakes, but he showed the ability to drive the ball from sideline to sideline with accuracy, with no hesitation. And he definitely showed some rust. He clearly wasn't in midseason form or the form he was in at the end of last season. But the offensive line also graded out as top 10 in both run blocking and pass blocking. That surprised me. They couldn't convert necessarily in the red zone, but I was still impressed with this Packers offense against the Eagles. Insert Malik Willis. They were able to run the ball. The Packers drew up some great running schemes, some interesting, unique plays that broke out some carries, some of the run. Well, that's versus a Jordan Love-led Green Bay Packers. Insert Malik Willis. That looks completely different. They're going to be able to load the box. This isn't Stroud. This isn't Jordan Love. This is Malik Willis. He never passed for over 100 yards in an NFL game. Let's put it that way. Malik Willis is not him. He's had a chance in this league, and he's proven that something isn't right up here. It's a perfect way to put it. And I think he had some good leadership in Tennessee when he was there, and he still wasn't able to execute that game plan where they wouldn't ask him much of him, right? And this Colts offense, I mean, they average 7 yards per play, 9.5 yards per pass play. We talked about my guy, Alec Pierce. I talked about him being a massive deep threat. They finally utilized him, got him the ball. His ability to drive the ball downfield was just a display of pure talent. His arm strength, the mobility, the strength in his legs. Like, I know he threw an interception. One of his interceptions, I mean, it was more of just a fantastic play than a blatant mistake. This has been my team. I talked about this team for a few weeks now. I'm very heavy, very high on this Colts offense and defense. And like I said, like the Colts, if you want to beat the Colts, you do them on the ground. You're able to beat them in the box, in the trenches, in between the tackles. And I don't think that they're going to be able to do that because we're going to be able to load the box. And the Packers don't really have the tools to drive the ball downfield. With Malik Willis, they have one deep threat with Christian Watson, but nobody else. I'm on the Colts. I bet it at -3. I got -115 on it, and I have the parlay with the Cowboys as well.
Colts -3 at -115. And then what was the money line parlay? That was Cowboys.
Cowboys, Colts plus 120.
Plus 120. And
I also want to say with this market, I do want to see this close at 3.5. I do want to see it close with a move to the under, and I will feel very comfortable because that has been historically a great spot for a road favorite.
Absolutely. And yes, Al Cervic, I did make 5 bets pre-show today. But look and listen, what Dennis Garcia and also Birdie are saying is completely legitimate. Truly. And let me just say a couple of and I'm sure that Jose's highlighted them for us, but Birdie says Houston put up 200 rushing yards on Indy's D. Houston could not run for shit last year. Jacobs will be just fine in this game, and Willis will also have a good running success in this game. Dennis Garcia says Green Bay's had extra time to prepare. Indy's defense was on the field for 40 minutes last week. Birdie says this is Richardson's second road game of his career. Played 1 quarter in his first road game. He's not ready to be a 3-point favorite on the road to anyone at this point in his career. Look, these are all
1 quarter though. It's pretty impressive 1 quarter he played.
and Dennis Garcia says being on the field for 40 minutes, getting those stops, not what I would consider impressive. Look, I did feel like I'd never seen it before, Dennis, in my whole life. I've never seen a team have the ball for 20 minutes in a 60-minute game and stay within a field goal. So what does that mean? It could mean whatever angle you want to use for your argument, you could take from that. And I think what you guys are saying is completely legitimate. Coin saying Steichen has demonstrated he's a great play caller and offensive game planner. He's on par with Kyle Shanahan in terms of scheming a run game and finding ways to get receivers wide open down the field. This is going to be a very, very, very important football game for me on Sunday. It's going to be a game that I'm going to be very nervous. I'm going to look at the line probably 10 times a day, but I'm in and I bet it. And when I see Malik Willis, I'm going to have confidence. I'm going to say, I know I can beat that guy. I know he can't beat me with his arms, and I know he's going to get sacked 5 times, and I know there's going to be a strip sack.
You know who probably isn't going to get sacked? Anthony Richardson, because this defense does not apply pressure, and they're up against a really good offensive line, graded out 4th in pass blocking this week. And all of their linemen are grading out above average. Actually, 3 of the 5 of them are grading out in the top 5 in their position.
I know it's going to be a public spot. I know all these things. So it's going to be, I'm going to be very, very nervous. But I've moved on it. And now let's get past this game because it's got so much. God, let's just move past it and let's move on. And I love your takes, Birdie and DG, and I get them. And I know there's going to be a lot of sharp money on the Packers, and I will have to deal with the consequences that come my way. Hopefully, it's a fatter bankroll. Let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern, we have the New York Jets 0-1, 0-1 on the road. The Tennessee Titans 0-1 home game here. Their home opener at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. 76 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 6 miles per hour. Jets coming in off the short week after getting embarrassed. This is going to be a fun cap. Right now, we have the New York Jets minus 3.5 at minus 107. This opened up at Pinnacle this morning at 9:58 a.m., minus 3.5, minus 110. So there's been 3 cents of movement towards the Tennessee Titans. The over 5.5 wins at minus 105. I haven't bet it yet. I wanted to have this conversation with you guys and then decide tonight whether I was going to move on that future. When we get to the total here in this one, we have a 40.5, a minus 109 to the under. This opened up at 41.5. So, despite this line not being out for 24 hours, this has dropped a point on the total. Let's get to the cash flow here for this one. Here we go. We have 14% of the tickets and 86% of the cash on the Jets. I understand the buy low opportunity, but it's also I don't know if it's a buy low opportunity with the Titans. We got to talk this out. 18% of the tickets and 47% of cash on the under. Certainly feels like that's a sharp look. The Jets come in off that embarrassment last night. Aaron Rodgers was 13-21 for 167 yards. He had problems moving around the pocket. He did not look mobile at all. He looked like a 40-year-old coming off a major injury. Lazard caught 6 passes for 89 yards. Shout out to Nut Flush and all the cappers who were on the Lazard props. Jeff Slaughter on the Lazard props. You guys all got paid. Great to see. Garrett Wilson caught 6 passes for 60 yards. Breece Hall ran 16 times for 54 yards and a touchdown, caught 5 passes for 39 yards, also lost a fumble. The Jets only had 3 first downs on the ground. The defense did not look good. The pass rush did not get enough pressure. They got 3 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. I don't remember them.
I don't remember any of that.
Yeah. They are sorely missing holdout edge rusher Hassan Reddick. Jordan Mason gashed them for 147 yards on the ground. Undrafted Jordan Mason. The Niners scored on 8 straight drives. The Jets were dominated in time of possession, 38-40 to 21-20. Now, they did hold the Niners to 2 of 5 in the red zone. Cornerback Michael Carter left with an ankle injury. He's listed as questionable this week. A linebacker, Zaire Barnes, was placed on IR early yesterday before the game went, so he was unavailable. And Wes Schweitzer, a guard, was put on IR on Saturday, 2 days before the game. There's so much to figure out. We love, some of us in the chat love horse racing so much because each race is a puzzle and you try to put the puzzle together. And this game is a puzzle that I want to piece together, and I'm excited about the cap opportunity. The Titans managed to lose to the Bears 24-17 in Chicago in week 1, despite holding them to 148 total yards. They were up 17-0. Will Levis, 19-32 for 127 yards, touchdown, 2 interceptions, and lost a fumble. Calvin Ridley caught 3 passes for 50 yards. No one else had more than Tyler Boyd's 3 catches for 18 yards. This team has weapons, man. Tony Pollard, 16 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown. He also caught 3 for 12 yards. They also dominate time of possession, 34-53 to 25-07. Now, they were just 3 of 14 on third down. Look, that's not going to cut it. They went 1 of 2 in the red zone, but the defense was excellent. You could say that the Bears offense is trash, but it's not going to be. And or you could say it's not developed yet with Caleb. And that's a fair statement, but they held the Bears to 2.8 yards per play and 64 yards passing. We talked all offseason about how good this defense would be with L'Jarius Sneed and Jeffrey Simmons and Ernest Jones. L'Jarius Sneed and an off-ball linebacker like Ernest Jones, they're going to be hard to pass on. The pass rush got 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. They had 8 tackles for a loss. Help me piece this together, and I'm going to be reading the chat as I always do to help piece this together. Take it away, Troy. I can't wait to hear it. Titans at home to the Jets.
I don't know which team to start with because both of them were so frustrating to watch. Obviously, I was on the Jets heavy, so let's start with them. I think that what changed the course of the game is some of those early possessions from the Jets. They had an opportunity to kind of maybe jump on the 49ers more than just that one touchdown, getting up 7-3. They had potential to maybe be up 10-17-3 in that case, but they shot themselves in the foot. They had the fumble, they had the drop passes on the first few drives. And I think that completely changed the course of the game because what happened? It changed the script from a leading script to a trailing script. Then that completely changed the complexion of the game because the 49ers were just able to lean on them with the ground and pound, which makes me think about all the shit I talked about Robert Saleh, and I just backed him heavily, and I cannot believe I did that. Can we not adjust to ISO? Can we not pinch down on a trap concept? Can we change the splits? Can we do something to change the line of scrimmage, to change the dynamic of what's happening? They did nothing. They just kept running out the same thing and expecting a different result. They didn't even walk the linebackers up to the line of scrimmage to take away the double up to the second level. They did literally nothing to stop the run. And then I also noticed something watching a couple of those plays back from last night. The 49ers had an inverted offensive line. They've been calling the illegal formation. Mm-hmm. Well, the guard and the guards are now they're now doing what the tackles used to do to create that wedge. And it's a very interesting concept. I don't know if it gets banned or they start calling that as illegal formation, but that looks like a dominant, because if you're guard, you're pulling guards, you're starting a yard back, right? Or half a yard back, it's easier to get out and pull. It's easier to maneuver on the interior line. They should definitely look into putting an end to that, in my opinion. But for now, it's legal, and the 49ers absolutely crushed this Jets defense. I couldn't believe it. But they did nothing to change it. Now, that's against the 49ers. We're talking about the Titans. This Titans offense, and there's a reason I've been so low on them the past 2 seasons. It's the offensive line. It's hard to blame Levis when they put him behind this offensive line that is just terrible. 28th in pass blocking in week 1 versus a Bears D line ranked 29th in the preseason grade rankings. Grade out 23rd in run blocking versus a Bears D that allowed some of the most offensive line yards in 2023. I mean, what are the Jets going to do to this team? The Titans offense is going to be bad. I think good defenses are going to make this Titans team look really bad. But on the other side of things, this Titans defense, there's a lot of upside. There's a lot to like. Good D-line, a good secondary, but how far can defense take them alone? Because this offense is probably going to be one of the worst in football, despite the weapons, because they do have weapons, like you said. They just never seem to be able to take advantage of them. And despite my growing hate for this Jets team, I would have to be on that side this week, and it's crazy because last week I had all these dogs. I was on all types of dogs, all types of different ways, and now I'm leaning towards favorites, and I'm wondering if that's bias, but at the same time, I'll just have to watch this market develop. I'm gonna let it develop, and then we'll see what happens.
When everybody wants to give up on a quarterback or a team, that's when I get more interested in backing them.
So you're going right back to the Panthers this week, huh? Right? Yeah.
No, that was a little much.
I want to.
That was no, but there's an injury that's going to take me off of it. I mean, you can't. That's different. If the Panthers came back with they're fully healthy in this, I would be very, very interested in them. But we can get to that. But here, I want to back the Titans. I had written in my notes that they would have won that game with Tannehill at quarterback, and I deleted it. I was like, I shouldn't. Let's not go that far, but all they needed was simplicity.
Yeah.
So what do I do now?
They should have just punted. Punting on first down was they shouldn't have took that off the table. I mean, I can't believe they didn't punt on first down because they would have won that game 100 times out of 100 if they did that. And Caleb, I mean, they were so impressive early. Then Caleb just snowballed out of control. I don't get nervous, Caleb. Come on, my ass, brother.
I want to find a way to get the Titans, but I think I should just let this game go now because they're both in buy low spots. And
if either of these teams won, I think there'd be a clear angle on the other side.
Ziggy saying Jets off short week. Travel teams that play the Niners don't do well the next game.
That's a good point, actually.
It's a great point.
The 49er hangover. Someone pointed out last year I went deep diving and manually making the entries to see if it was true. And I was 7 games deep, and I was like, Jesus Christ, these teams aren't just losing. They're getting smoked.
So we're sitting at the book. I give you $1,000. I say you split the win with me 50-50. Pick a side right now at 3.5. Go to the window and bet it. Who do you bet?
I was going to look to play the under, but I'm going to go ahead and take at 3.5. And take the Jets.
I guess I just
change. You put the gun to my head right now. That could change.
I think I just got to stay off of this one. I want the Titans so bad, but I don't want to be I don't
it's loyal, not loyal, but it's you're sticking to your guns. You're kind of I know what you mean. I don't know.
To be capping for too long, I can't even use the English language that I love so much. But I'm going to have to stay off of this right now. I want the Titans. I want the Titans over 5.5 wins. And this has not helped me at all.
Yeah, that's a good point, Birdie. How are the Jets not a 6-point favorite?
See, DG put it there. He said Tennessee, but then he said only with Jimmy's money. Right? Because he's not going to. Why? I don't need to. If there's enough action on this card, I don't need to hammer each and every game. So, oh, God.
Should this be played under the total? I think it should be. I got a heavy trend in favor of an under here.
It's a 40.5. I mean, that Levis is going to be as conservative as possible. just hate this. Okay, I'm gonna have to keep working on this game.
I'm gonna have to get back. I'm gonna go digging into this because under the total.
I'd be interested. You have to think, and D. Jenkins says, thank you. How is this not an under? Perfect rotation giving us final score 22-16. Rant saying the under is solid. Okay, we're going to have to, we have the Cappers contest show on Thursday, so at least we have that to hammer these again. I put some asterisks beside the under. I guess I'm going to have to leave the side alone. We could talk about this game for a long, long time. McLeod. Okay, let's roll on. Next up for us is the fifth of my 5 bets that I've already placed, 1 p.m. Eastern. San Francisco 49ers and Minnesota Vikings. I'm on the under 45.5 in this one with a ton of confidence. Now, it's just a 1-unit bet, but I have a ton of confidence in this spot. I feel like I know how the Niners are going to play on the road. I feel like I've seen this game, and now we could talk about what happened last year and stuff. I just feel like I've seen this game. Saturate on the Niners, Sammy Comer on the Vikings. TJ says Niners cover in the under. Let's go. We'll start with the line history here. US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. We have this total. I got it at 45.5 at Bet365. I have Bet365 up right now and I'm signed in. It's a 45 at Pinnacle. It's still 45.5 minus 110 at 365. Pinnacle has moved it to 45 though. In fact, they didn't move it. They never opened it at 45.5. This opened up at 45 minus 107. So there's been 2 cents of movement to the under 45. But there's still a hook if you at other books if you want it. Let's get over to the spread in this one. We have the Niners -6 at -107. That doesn't interest me at all. I'm a 49ers fan, and these kind of the road favorite spots like this, that just never appeals to me, especially when they look so good at home and they come off that dominant home opener, 32-19 over the Jets without the services of CMC Music Factory. Jordan Mason was the star of the show, ran 28 times for 147 yards and a touchdown. Nobody thinks Christian McCaffrey's playing this week, but that can change. But at this point, nobody thinks that. Shout out to Guillermo Zertucci in the house, last year's champion of the Cappers contest. So Brock Purdy, 19-29 for 231 yards. He was so composed. He was so in control. Juwan Jennings caught 5 passes for 64 yards. Deebo Samuel caught 5 for 54 and ran 8 times for 23 yards. By the way, those 28 carries were the most for any Niners player in a regular season game in 13 years. Niners scored on 8 straight possessions. Defense looked excellent. They didn't get a ton of pressure on Rodgers, 1 sack and 4 quarterback hits, but they just felt like a brick wall at times. Flanagan Fowles had that pick. They held the Jets to just 3 first downs on the ground. That helped the Niners dominate time of possession, 38-40 to 21-20. The only area of concern in week 1 was the red zone. It's been an area of concern at times for the Niners. They were 2 of 5. The Jets were 2 of 2, but that last one we don't really count. McCaffrey is not expected to go. Left guard Aaron Banks left in the third quarter with a calf injury. List is questionable this week. Hufanga was unable to play due to a knee injury. We're not sure if he'll be able to play. D. Winters and then their backup defensive end, Gross Matos, also unavailable. Their list is questionable. We don't know if they'll be able to go. The Vikings coming off an impressive 28-6 victory at the Giants. Darnold, 19-24 for 208 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He completed his first 12 passes. Look, he's confident. He's happy. He was the backup at San Francisco last year, and he's getting an opportunity to start, and people like him. Justin Jefferson caught 4 passes for 59 yards. Addison caught 3 for 35 before being ruled out with an ankle injury. At this point, Kevin O'Connell says he's hopeful that Addison will be available versus 49ers, but obviously for my under, I would like him not to be available. Aaron Jones had 14 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown. The Vikings were 3 of 10 on third down. I'm sure they were 2 of 2 in the red zone, but I don't fear their offense at all whatsoever. But that pass rush was dynamic. Is it the Giants' weak offensive line? They sacked Jones 5 times. They hit him 12 times. Van Ginkel returned an interception, 10 yards for a touchdown. Harrison Smith also had an interception. Held the Giants at 240 yards, 0 of 3 in the red zone. So is the Brian Flores Vikings defense very good, or is this Daniel Jones offense very bad? It's both. I'm on the under 45.5 with confidence. Take it away, Troy. Floor is yours.
Yeah, I don't have much on this game. I'll keep this one short. I mean, what the 49ers, I kind of talked about them in the last segment. What the 49ers did against the Jets was damn impressive. I mean, all the uncertainty, 3 Pro Bowlers injured, the Jets hype train rolling into town. I don't want to scoff necessarily what the Jets did, but the 49ers, I want to give them the credit because they completely handled business. The continuity was there despite those, the Pro Bowlers being out of the lineup, despite the holdouts from Ayuk and Trent. The power, the influence Shanahan has is just mind-blowing. He has great talent, but they're always so well prepared. And the defense, I mean, some shit just doesn't change, right? They make big plays when the opportunity surfaces. They dominate, and they did it again against the Jets. And the Vikings, I mean, on defense, we know Brian Flores. I mean, it was kind of – I'm so upset that I wasn't on this Viking spot because I was talking with you even about it, Jim, after the show a couple days later. I mean, Flores blitzes and drops 8 at the highest rate in the NFL. What do we think Daniel Jones is going to be able to handle that, be able to read the defense, be able to adjust post-snap? I can't believe I wasn't on it. I missed it. We also had the market in our favor. I'm not going to let that spot pass again. But Sam Darnold, I mean, he comes in and makes all the passes, all the plays, and I'm just going to have to live with regret missing this Vikings team last week. And now I think that they might be a little overrated. I haven't spent too much time with the market in this one. I'm going to let this market develop. I don't even have a lean to give out at this point. But, yeah. We can move on to the next game.
I love the under. Love it. It's I guess it can't be my most confident spot because I doubled up. But the more we talk about it, the more I think about it. The more I think about the Niners, on the short week and traveling, and the Vikings feeling good about themselves. But we know, Darnold. We know that he's not what he looked like last week. I really do think it's a great spot for the under 45.5. It's too high. It's just way too high. I was shocked to see it. So that's my spot. Let's roll on. Next up, 1 p.m. Eastern, the Seattle Seahawks at New England Patriots, at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, 80 Fahrenheit, sunny, 6 miles per hour. It's such a roller coaster of emotions as a gambler. I get knocked out of the Survivor, and that stings. It sucks. But this is the most money I've made on a week 1 game in my life. It was the biggest bet on that team total under, and then I also had a regular unit on the full game under. So it's it sucks being out of the Survivor pools, but the Patriots. I was fortunate to cash that team total under. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes you get the bounces. Sometimes. Let's take a look at the line history here. I love this football game. I feel like the Seahawks are becoming a predictable football team, and can we take advantage of the Patriots looking so good in week 1? This opened up with the Seahawks -3 at -105. This came out on Sunday night, 8:37 p.m. Within a minute, Seahawks had 11 cents of movement towards them. 1 minute. 3 minutes later, 2 more cents. 2.5 hours later, 7 more cents. Until it moved to 3.5. Moved to 3.5 at 3 p.m. yesterday. It was a legit 3.5. But at that point, Patriots start getting bet. Plus 3.5 -106. It goes up to -111, goes up to -121. Right now, it's -119 if you want the 3.5. So it's up to you on the side that you want, because there's going to be juice on the 3 if you're looking, if you want to back Seattle, you can get a very juice 3. And if you want to back the Patriots, you can get a very juice 3.5. Let's take a look at the total in this one. From a total perspective, we're sitting here with a 38. A very low total. This opened up at 40, and it's just dropping. That 38 is juiced to the under at -113. Let's get to the cash flow then for this spot. We have 9% of the tickets and 23% of the cash on the under. That's it. And it's down to a 38, 37.5 at some books. Wow. 12% of the tickets and 96% of the cash on the Seahawks. Wow. Nut Flush, I will take a look at that Vikings team total under. It's always a hint for me. Can make sure I copy and paste that. Nut Flush, my friend. So let's roll here. Seahawks coming off a 26-20 victory at home over the Broncos to start their season. Geno Smith, 18-25 for 171 yards, touchdown, interception, ran 4 times for 30 yards, touchdown. That 34-yard touchdown run was the longest of his career. Tyler Lockett caught 6 passes for 77 yards, but DK and Smith-Njigba had very quiet games. The two of them combined for 5 catches and 48 yards. Bobano pushed that Kenneth Walker said it was the best running back prop of the day on Sunday. And he was excellent, ran 20 times for 103 yards and a touchdown. And then he got hurt. And there's question marks about how much he's hurt. It's a abdomen issue. It happened early in the fourth quarter. He said he's going to be okay, but McDonald's been very quiet, hasn't given us an update. Now they have Zach Charbonnet. He was held to just 12 yards on 8 carries, but he did have a 30-yard TD reception. They got the win having just one attempt. They were only in the red zone once. Now, of course, there was the 30-yard scamp or 34-yard scamper by Smith that wasn't a red zone spot, and they didn't get a touchdown in their only red zone spot. The pass rush got after Bo Nix, 2 sacks, 9 hits on him. Leonard Williams had 4 quarterback hits. They got interceptions from Reek Willen, Julian Love. We know that this Seahawks secondary is very good. We know that. They held the Broncos to just 231 yards, 1 of 4 in the red zone. And George Fant went down with a right knee injury. Their right tackle. It's not clear what the injury is. He was helped off the field. So Fant, of course, is Abraham Lucas's backup, and he's on the injured reserve until at least week 5. So there's a lot of cause for concern for what's happening there, and that's a key thing that we need to keep our eye out on as this week unfolds. Patriots are 1-0 in the Gerard Mayo era. Impressive 16-10 road win at Cincinnati. Jacoby Brissett, 15-24 for 121 yards, did exactly what Mayo wanted him to do. Austin Hooper led receivers with 2 catches for 31 yards. Get used to that. I mean, they got away without being able to throw the ball because of a spectacular game from Ramondre Stevenson. He was incredible. 25 carries for 120 yards and a touchdown, caught 3 passes for 6 yards, but they knew he was going to run, and he still was so good. Helped him go 6 of 15 on third down. Imagine going 6 of 15 on third down when you can't really throw the ball. Stevenson was spectacular. The lack of a passing game hurt in the red zone. I mean, they were just 1 of 4 there, but they won the battle of possession thanks to him, 34-04 to 25-57. Their defense was very strong. They held the Bengals to just 224 yards, just 154 through the air. Keon White was just menace all day, 2.5 sacks. Take it away, Troy. Seahawks, Patriots at Gillette Stadium.
I mean, my first thought looking at these two teams was under. And if you look at the database supports the under. Short home dogs, database is all over unders pretty much any way you slice it and dice it. As long as it's moving towards the under, it's in good shape. And honestly, the market is definitely bullish on the market profile is bullish on the Seattle Seahawks. But this is not a team I've been looking to back over the past 2 years. I mean, Gino's Gino. You could expect league average, maybe 1 standard deviation above or below that. But at the end of the day, he's going to come out right around average. The offensive line actually graded out okay, but that's because they dominated in the run block category, which is kind of predictable because the Broncos have been known, and I've targeted them for being a terrible run defense the past 2 seasons. I still think they struggled to protect Gino on straight chops. They only generated minus 0.1 EPA per play. They were 33% on third down. Not impressive from this offense, and it's exactly what I expected. But the defense graded out as the best defense in week 1 per PFF. They played a bad team. They played a rookie on the road. I know you got to kind of take that with a grain of salt, but there's a lot of sharp people that are very high on this defense. And from what I've seen, how could I argue? The coverage is elite, which makes sense given their personnel. But then again, against who, right? We need this unit to be tested before we start crowning them as an elite defense by any means. And the Patriots getting a read on this game won't really help. But my God, what a game I feel like the Patriots called. I watched that whole game, unfortunately. I had the teaser with the Bengals, like a square. Is Brissett not like the perfect quarterback to fit who this team wants to be this year? Like slow play, small ball, death by 1,000 cuts, long possessions. Don't make mistakes, right? Brissett, don't make mistakes. Don't turn the ball over. Lean on Ramondre, who's proven himself to be a goon. The defense is like mostly driven by 3 or 4 elite defenders. Bend but don't break. Let the offense make mistakes, and that's kind of what's starting to put me on the under. I don't trust either of these offenses. You got strong defenses. You got a range in the market that is gone under, low totals, line moving towards whichever team. It don't matter as long as it's moving towards the under, and you got a short home dog. It's a profitable situation, especially with low totals. And And looking at the schemes, right? Patriots scheme and talent, like it forces their offense to play underneath. It's the only way. They're designed to play underneath. They want to hold the ball, reduce the number of possessions. That's good for the under. And the Seahawks are forced to play underneath because their O-line is terrible. And defensively, they're built to limit big plays as well with great secondary. Yeah, I'm leaning towards the under in this game, but I haven't moved on it.
Of course, Dennis got himself a 40 on Sunday, which we should have done as well.
Jesus.
Of course. I mean, I just don't understand. I guess, you know, you got to be attentive to what's going on ahead. I mean, I was just unique says Pats by 3. So do we take the 38 now? I mean, I don't see a 23-17 game. I don't see how it gets to 40, man.
21-17, that'd be like worst case scenario, then you're pushing.
I mean, I can't. So in the past, and I've been trying to work through this, I would have a friend who would get a 40, and I would then have to take a 38, and I out of anger and jealousy, I would just stay off the game, and I would leave money on the table constantly. If I had have still moved on it, my ROI was positive, but out of just anger and jealousy, I don't move on it, and I've got to stop that. That's why I'm saying it out loud. And then saying yes, anything above 37 is fine. This should be bet right after the show, and then if it does hit a 39 or a 40, you have to deal with those consequences because you weren't attentive enough at what was coming ahead of time, and there's no excuse for that.
All right. I'm moving on it right now. You can mark me down for a 38 minus 110, Jim.
Yeah, makes sense. And then I kind of like the Seahawks minus 3, but I don't really want to trust this team on the road in game 2 of the season either, with all of the vibe. They were talking about the locker room, how special it is here. And there were question marks about, what this locker room was going to be like. And Gerard Mayo's done like a spectacular job. And, Brissett was talking about how he was, almost crying 3 times. It turns out that trading Judon was the right move. I mean, it's hard to comprehend that. But they're all playing together right now, and they're playing good football. Do you want the Seahawks minus 3?
No, I don't. I want the under. I moved on. I really like that position. I know that I prefer to have a 40, but at the same time, I'd prefer to see the market move towards the under and show some concern. I know the cash flow is showing all the money on the total. Be it true, be it not. I believe this game goes under, and I would probably take it all the way down to 36.
And then we have not Flush saying, don't forget to talk on Seattle going to be running fast pace offense, I guess, to tire out the Patriots defense. But I don't know if that's necessary.
But did they run a fast pace?
I didn't study their numbers, pace numbers against the Broncos. Why don't you take a look at that? Okay. Yeah, I think this needs to be bet right away. And I don't really, but I wouldn't be against the Seahawks. I mean, like here, that whole $1,000 spot again. I give you $1,000, you keep half. No stress. You lose nothing if it loses on the minus 3. Are you going to the window with the Patriots or the Seahawks?
I'm going to the window with the Seahawks. I'm riding or dying with the database. But about the pace, I mean, I don't know if I necessarily see that. They had 19 first downs. They only ran 60 plays, which is less plays than the Broncos. Time of possession definitely in their favor. And I really like this under. And even if they do run a faster pace, and even if they do have some success, I see them struggling to score points, the Seahawks and the Patriots alike, to put up 6. I see them struggling to put up 6.
Yeah, no, I kind of do you think this is a spot where we can actually sell the Patriots high?
I do. If I didn't get so confident in this total as we talk things out, I would definitely look towards the Seahawks. Seems like you're trying to talk me out of the Seahawks, and I want to be talked out of the Seahawks a little key.
Yeah, I fear I don't. Okay, I'm gonna bet the under after the show. I don't know if I'm gonna bet the Seahawks. I kind of want to see what happens with this market as well.
Another thing about why I'm so skeptical with the Seahawks is because all these dogs. I was just on all the dogs. Now I'm looking at all the favorites, and Jesus Christ, am I walking into just this massive bookie trap that I try
you got to
to
say that out loud so you're consciously aware of what's happening. I mean, that's the undoing project right there. Okay, under is going to be bet as soon as the show's over. I don't know about the Seahawks yet. Let's roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern, New York Giants at Washington Commanders. Northwest Stadium, Landover, Maryland, 78 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have the total at 44 minus 110 to the over. This opened up at 41. This has gone up 3 points to the over. So a big move to the over at Pinnacle. On the point spread, we have the Commanders now -1. So we've had a big move towards the New York Giants. They opened up at +2.5. And interestingly enough, that first move was towards the Commanders. This was available to anybody who wanted it at +3 starting Sunday night at 8:53 p.m. It stayed at +3 until this morning when it moved to 2.5. But there was this huge move down to 1, like this monster move here towards the New York Giants. And I saw it happening, and it didn't appeal to me. Like I saw it happening, and I wasn't sitting there going, "Oh, I got to get this bet in." And maybe that's a problem with how bad they looked, and that being in my head. We often talk about how I'm jealous of cappers who study and don't watch the games because they don't develop the biases that we have. Now you could say, if you don't watch the games, how do you know the nuances of what, happened? And all of that's fair. And of course I watch them. Let's talk about it. New York Giants coming off a disastrous start to their season, 28-6 home loss. Sam Darnold led Vikings. Danny Dimes, 22 of 42 for 186 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Devin Singletary ran 10 times for 37 yards. I liked it because I was just thinking about Joe Schoen and I was thinking about him watching Saquon in Brazil run 24 times for 109 yards and 2 touchdowns and catch 2 passes for 23 yards and a touchdown in his Eagles debut. And there you got Devin Singletary. I like that. I like when these guys act like they know more and it blows up in their face. Malik Neighbors did look like the real deal. 5 catches for 66 yards. Offense put up just 240 total yards, 0 of 3 in the red zone. Pass rush could get no pressure on Darnold. They finished with 1 sack and just 2 quarterback hits. The defense did hold the Vikings to 3 of 10 on third down, but that's not a very good offense. I don't think so, with Darnold there. And Darius Slayton's in concussion protocol. Gunnar Olszewski aggravated his groin injury in pregame warm-up, so he didn't play. So he was replaced as a kick returner by Slayton, who's now in protocol. So Olszewski is expected to be out for weeks. Slayton's now not there. So who's going to be kick returning and punt returning? Not someone they want to be doing it. Carter Coughlin also expected to miss months. Linebacker Carter Coughlin after sustaining a pectoral injury. Commanders coming off a 37-20 loss at Tampa in their first game with new coach Dan Quinn, new offensive coordinator in Cliff Kingsbury, new defensive coordinator in Joe Witt Jr., and of course their new quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner and second overall pick, Jaden Daniels. Daniels 17 of 24 for 184 yards. He also ran 16 times for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. He fumbled 3 times, but didn't lose any of them. The offense ran through him and his running backs. I talked about it a little bit already, but Scary Terry, McCaffrey, Olamide, Zacchaeus, and Jamison Crowder, 7 catches for 55 yards, the 4 of them combined. Brian Robinson Jr. ran 12 times for 40 yards, caught 3 for 49. Eckler ran twice for 10 and caught 4 for 52. They were just 2 of 8 on third down, but they did go 3 of 3 in the red zone. They did not look good defensively. It was really bad, man. They were held to 1 Cleveland Farrell sack. That was their only quarterback hit. The secondary got torched. 280 yards, 4 touchdowns. They allowed the Bucs to go 9 of 13 on third down. Take it away here. Troy, bum fights always appeal to me. But this time I saw the market moving to the Giants, and I wasn't like, oh, I should get in on it too. I did not want to back the Giants. I respected the move towards the Vikings, and it confused me, and the market was right. But I still don't know what we're getting from the Commanders. I don't know what we're getting with the Giants. I like betting on bums that I know. I like watching bums fight that I know. But I don't want to watch two stranger bums that I don't know. I mean, if that's the bum that's been in front of on your street corner for 8 years, let's watch them fight. That's some stranger bum. I don't know what's going to happen in this game, and it doesn't appeal to me. Troy, take it away. Giants Commanders.
God, it was hilarious and very frustrating to watch Danny Dimes so confused with what Flores was sending at him. I mean, the O-line has minimal talent. I guess the one bright spot was Malik Neighbors, who looked pretty good. They can't stop the run. Aaron Jones went for 6.5 yards per carry. They can't stop the pass. Darnold marched up and down the field, right down there with the Panthers as two of the worst defenses and teams in the NFL, and I think it's by a pretty wide margin at this point. And looking at the Commanders, I mean, clearly another bottom 5 defense is released of talent on paper. Still a group that's coming together. New defensive coordinator who's blitzing on over 40% of snaps. I think it's the first or second highest rate in the NFL. And I think it's brilliant because when you have a lack of talent on defense, how do you mask that? You send the blitz, you apply pressure, you do things unauthentic packages and looks and blitzes to increase variance, right? Maybe come up with an interception, change the game that way. And it could be effective, especially versus like kind of competition, because this Giants team is not very good. So if I have to pick between the Commanders defense and the Giants offense, I want to take the Commanders. And I mean, offensively, looking at what Jaden was able to do, he shows signs that he could be capable. He did make some okay reads. I was not very thrilled, but when he got in the red zone, I mean, they executed, right? 3 out of 3. So being able to prove that he could execute in the red zone is definitely a notch in his belt, if you will. He needs to trust himself a little bit more, though. You could tell he was not very confident, and his confidence grew as the day went on. So, I mean, all in all, I really wanted to be on the Commanders, but we got a divisional game. We got a short number, and we got the line moved towards the Giants. The market is bullish in favor of the Giants, and it's just how efficient the market is. The only short favorite, and it wasn't a divisional game, but the only short line that was misleading in this range was the Browns, and it was turned out to be a really bad result. But this is just 3 consecutive years. I mean, a big sample, one of the bigger samples in an NFL database where, you've got 700 games, 800 games over the course of 3 years. So, I don't know what to do with this one, but I guess I would have to be with the market. I'd have to be with the database. It would be definitely Giants or pass in this one.
Birdie says Giants for me will be my first layer. Giants money line -2.5. Best unit in this game will be the Giants front, and it won't be pretty. Bucks front is not in the same ballpark here. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Dennis Garcia thinks it's gone too far. He likes the Commanders. Londo on the Giants, and then BJ jumping in the chat saying, one of my favorite bets on the card this week for Sunday, Giants got it +2.5. Would not be surprised if they close as a favorite. Shout out to Dabby Cab in the house. I guess the whole idea of what we're doing is you create the game script and then you bet it accordingly. And watching the Commanders against the Buccaneers, I was like, good God, they don't even know what the hell's going on. But they have talent. Jaden Daniels is talented. And, although Dan Quinn's never succeeded as a head coach, we've seen him do great stuff, in Seattle and Dallas as a defensive coordinator. He's a respected guy. The Giants are just the laughing stock of the offseason. I don't feel like I can write the script. I know you guys can. Look, the market is telling us the Giants are live, and that's legitimate. And do we really think the Buccaneers offense and Mayweather is a perfect quarterback? That's what he was perfect on Sunday. I find this all hard to believe. And I don't feel like I have an angle that I can trust. I can understand. The only angle I see in this football game is the market moving towards the Giants. Heavily. Bullish.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, that's the only thing I can
I agree.
know as a fact, because I can't game script this watching how bad the Giants looked and how I do believe in some of the pieces on the Commanders. Okay. And BJ says I'm going to take Danny Dimes before Daniels. I mean, if it's one game, I still probably wouldn't do it. Now, if it's a career, there's zero chance. But if it's one game, I probably wouldn't do it. I'm not helpful in this breakdown. I apologize for the viewers.
I mean, I believe in it. I believe in this so much. I believe in the database so much, and it failed me in week 1. But that's 1 week. It's one battle. There's a whole war. I should be on the Giants.
But the database is probably not going to be as successful in week 1 as it's going to be when there's more of a sample size within the teams.
Right.
I mean,
you
don't want to
price more accurately. Yeah.
All right. Let's and Dennis Garcia said Washington kicker doesn't miss 2 field goals, 23-21 going to the 4th. Washington was in that game. Okay. Preston says Marcus trying to win at 55% to sell picks. Can't follow that. Save my life. Trying to change my life.
I think Al Cervic makes a good point. Washington playing with house money. Think about the pressure that's starting to fall on the Giants' heads.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I don't want to be involved in this game. So huge market moves. I mean, huge market moves to the over, huge market moves towards the Giants. And if you have beaten those moves, you can feel comfortable and confident. I just don't want to be involved. Let's roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern, Los Angeles Chargers at Carolina Panthers. We're at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we have showers in this game. That can change. It's not rain, it's showers, so it's not as big of a deal. But 74 Fahrenheit showers, 8 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for this one. This is an interesting game. The Panthers, I couldn't comprehend how bad they looked. And my first thought is everyone's going to give up on them. I want them, but they have a Pro Bowl defensive lineman in Derek Brown. And this same thing happened last year with Shaq. They lost Shaq in that first game of the year as a captain of their defense. Now they lose Derek Brown to season-ending knee injury. He just signed a 4-year, $96 million contract extension. 103 tackles, 15 for a loss last year. First Pro Bowl nod. I mean, with him not being in the lineup, I can't say, I can't do it. I can't. Now, their defense was strong, and that's why Canales kept most of the defensive coaches when he came in. But that's a huge loss. Huge loss. Let's take a look at the spread right now. This spread opened up at 4.5. 4.5 already at 6.5. That 6.5 is slightly juiced to the Panthers. I mean, that's a huge spread for this Chargers squad. From a total standpoint here, we have a 39, a minus 108 to the under. This opened up at 39.5. It just moved to 39 at Pinnacle. It looks like it's 39 at all the books, so I don't know why Penny took so long to move to 39. And then from a cash flow standpoint, we have, sorry, here we go. Get back to this spot. God, sorry, take me a second. From a cash flow standpoint, where the hell is this? Here we go. 20% of the tickets and 85% of cash on the Chargers. 88% of tickets, 70% of cash on the over. I enjoyed watching the Chargers play. I haven't talked to my pops. He was at the game of the season ticket holder. I'm sure he was happy with the outcome. It's such a different team from what we saw last year. Harbaugh's just changed it completely. Herbert was 17 of 26 for 144 yards. They won despite only getting 11 first downs. Now, Joe Alt was incredible in his first NFL game, 5th overall pick. But McConkey caught 5 passes for 39 yards and a touchdown his first NFL game. Quentin Johnson was next with 3 for 38. They're never going to score a lot. And I underestimated J.K. Dobbins. He only played 1 game last year when he tore his Achilles tendon. I forget that he's capable of, I underestimated him. He was excellent. 10 carries for 135 yards and a touchdown. 2nd and 3rd longest carries of his career. His 5th 100-yard rushing game in the pros. It was an offense that was balanced to perfection. Well, if you like that sort of thing. 27 runs, 27 passes. They were just 4 of 15 on 3rd down. Get used to that. They were 2 of 4 in the red zone. Get used to that. The pass rush was really strong. They're healthy. Finished with 4 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. Puna Ford had an interception. The Chargers defense allowed 1 first down on the ground to the Raiders. That's it. And the Raiders had 1 opportunity in the red zone. Chargers forced 3 turnovers. Khalil Mack returned one, Gardner Minshew 22 yards to the Vegas 12 late in the first half. I would love to be on this under. I would love to be on this under. BJ said Chargers will be very public this week. Yeah, I want to hear what everybody has to say. I want to read the chat and hear what Troy has to say. Panthers coming off an embarrassing 47-10 loss at New Orleans. I'm interested in the under. I'm going to be interested in the under in every single game the Chargers play. The Canales debut, after the game, he said in weeks from now, it's not going to matter what the score was. Really, Dave? In 100 weeks from now? Because in 3 or 4 weeks from now, we're still going to talk about how horrible the Panthers looked in that 47-10 loss to the Saints. I didn't like that comment. A loss is a loss. No. You were down 30-0 before you got points on the board. I don't know. The loss of Derek Brown's enormous. Bryce Young was 13 of 30 for 161 yards, and he was intercepted twice. The safeties, Harris and Howden both intercepted. Thielen caught 3 for 49. Mingo caught 2 for 40, but he lost that fumble, which said goodnight to the game. Deontay Johnson caught 2 for 19 yards in his Panthers debut. They couldn't establish the running game. It's the same old story. They can't run the ball, so that we're not afraid of their receivers, so they're just not going to do anything. 58 yards on 20 carries. Pass rush was invisible. Leota had the lone sack. That was the only hit. On Derek Carr all game. And I like what Bryce Young said. He said, this doesn't define us. It's a long year. Why is Bryce Young saying smarter things than Dave Canales? But it might be a really long one for you, Bryce. And that losing, it just weighs on you. You don't want to show up in the locker room. You just keep losing and losing and losing. But I'm interested in the under. Take it away, Troy. Panthers, Chargers.
Oh, man. Did I have the Panthers completely wrong coming out of the gate in week 1? Bryce Young graded out as the 31st quarterback in week 1, and somehow he graded out better than Jalen Hurts, which I can't wait to talk about towards the end of this episode. He looked like a rookie all over again, Bryce Young. I mean, he's a deer in the headlights. 43% completion, 2 interceptions, 0 big-time throws, hella turnover-worthy plays. And the performance was not a reflection of their whole line. 10th in pass block, 8th in running block, turnovers, fumbles. Nobody's on the same page. Canales, Young, they just couldn't pull it together. Worst EPA per play, worst in yards per play, worst in third down efficiency. Had the third highest ADOT, average depth of target in week 1. They ran no RPO. They ran no play action. Or at least they didn't make an attempt. So that means that he was getting sacked or he was running out of bounds. I thought we'd instantly see a better offense in 2024 from this Panthers team. Clearly, I was wrong. And the defense, also, not a good performance, but how much was a product of the offense? You see some of these defenses with potential that, how infuriating, how life-sucking is it when your offense is that bad and you're a defensive player? It's hard to just write them off instantly because I thought that there was some upside with this unit, but they allowed 54% on third down, 80% in the red zone. 4 touchdowns to Derek Carr, who sucks in the red zone. Couldn't apply pressure. They also allowed, right? The Panthers had the third highest ADOT and they allowed the second highest ADOT in week 1, and that's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. And the Chargers, I was not equally as unimpressed as I was with the Panthers, but they were pretty far down there. I was on the Raiders, and I was happy with my action. I'm not going to be results-oriented. I think I cashed at a good amount of the time. But they had a negative EPA per play as well. 27% on third down. They were able to convert both of the red zone opportunities, which is good to see. But they clearly have a lack of offensive weapons. The offensive line did not gel together. Now give them some time. I know they got a lot of moving pieces, but they were 27th in run block, 24th in pass block. So despite the running back's great play, the talent just isn't there for this Chargers offense, in my opinion. Now the defense. I think it was night and day between 23 and 24. When's the last time we've seen Mack and Bosa posting elite grades on the edge? And the entire secondary posted above average grades. And I thought they played a quality game too. There were some receivers running open, but for the most part, especially relative to how they performed last year, eons better. And everybody was lined up pre-snap, which was great to see. Everyone knew their assignments. Generally speaking, the future is bright for the defense. The Chargers go from bad opponent to a worse opponent. They're set up to go 2-0. I just can't justify this price on the Chargers, this low of a total. The market history is telling me to bet the Panthers in this spot with a low total. Nobody's going to want the Panthers in week 2, which means I kind of do. I want to bet the Panthers, but I haven't bet it yet.
Yeah, Brady says Panthers lost their best player for the year after the game. Brown out for the season. Now I can tell you I won't be compounding a pre-flop mistake. I was wrong. I tell you what,
I'm going to keep double barrel, triple barrel, and I'm just going to get caught up on the river with fucking nothing in my hand.
The Chargers are not going to win games by margin.
Exactly.
The 22-10 victory over the Raiders is not. That doesn't mean I want Carolina here, but
how bad was the management from the Raiders for the Chargers to pull out a 12-point win? That's really,
oh my good God! But Harbaugh's going to take zero risks. He knows what he's dealing with. A team that can do nothing. He's going to take zero risks. Unique's on the over 39, and I don't like being on the opposite side of him, but I'm going to bet this under when the show's over. I know it hurts not having, Brown in the lineup. It hurts a ton. But the defense was not the problem going into this season. And sure, it looked like it was a problem, when you watched what went down versus Saints. But I think the offense played such a big part of it. And but WT says Chargers cover. True Loud Butler says Chargers and blowout win. Saturate says Panthers are serious dumpster juice. That is all well and good, but Terry Walker on the over as well. I will be on the under in this one, and I'm bet as soon as the show is over. I do not think this is a high-scoring game at all. Let's roll. Sammy says Chargers had a lot of big plays in week 1. I mean, I watched a lot of that game. If you take away J.K. Dobbins, which I think a defense can do, and I don't think J.K. Dobbins is as good as what he looked like in that game, although he was spectacular. I mean, how many big plays did they have? Herbert threw for 144 yards, and they got 11 first downs. So, yes, Dobbins surprised me with how great he was. But this is not going to be an electric, fun to watch Chargers team this year. So I'm going to be on the under.
Home dog, line moving towards the under. Low total. Let's go. I'm with you. Let's go. I agree completely. I don't see the Chargers putting up. They're not going to be a team that puts up a lot of points. They're just not. And I'm right there with you. Let's go, Jim. What number are you getting?
Birdie says, let's keep in perspective. Panthers looked really, really bad. Then they lost their best defender. That's the same thing happened last year with Shaq. They lost Shaq in the very first game last year, and their defense kept it together, stayed together. Look, sometimes in New Orleans, that place gets so loud, and if you start losing, the snowball effect, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You get swallowed up by it. I don't know if they're going to fill up Bank of America Stadium, but if it's raining, if there's showers, Harbaugh is going to be so conservative. I don't need to keep hammering this. I understand people are going to be on the other side, and that's all good, but I'm going to be on the under. What did you get on it, Troy?
I'm seeing 39. Seeing if I got it anywhere else.
Ziggy on the first half and full game under. Let's roll on here. BJ making a big bet on the Bills, a +2.5. Let's roll. Johnny Gunn says, what about the first half? Can we expect the Panthers to keep it close? I don't want to sit here. I have a game script in this, and that's that Harbaugh's going to take zero risks, and they're going to control the clock, and I don't fear their receivers, and I don't think that Dobbins is going to have maybe he has another big game, but I don't think he's this elite running back. Obviously, I underestimated him, and I don't want to be on the Chargers here on the road after this great performance. Dennis Garcia says 23-13 Chargers. Sammy Cummings says 17-14 Chargers. Look, in one of those scores, the Chargers cover, and one they don't, but both go to the under. I'm in. I'm going to bet this as soon as the show's over. Unders were very good to me last week. I know that the Browns Cowboys blew up in my face, but I'm not concerned here. And there was a lot of high-scoring football, which will make the unders still hold a ton of value as we move forward. Troy moving on the under. He'll give me the juice and the number. See if he can get that hook. I don't know if he can. Let's roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern, we have the Cleveland Browns at Jacksonville Jaguars. We're at Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville, Florida. 83 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour is the wind. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have this total at 41.5. God, the Browns' performance was perplexing. Opened up at 42.5, now at 41.5. So we've dropped 1 point here. The Jags, I wanted the Jags, and I didn't pull the trigger, and I still fear the Dolphins at home. But it was a great spot for the Jags. I don't know if this is one as well, because it feels like a nice buy low spot on the Browns if you can explain what the hell went wrong in that football game. The Jags open up at -3. They're now -3.5. This also got to 4. This was at 4 yesterday morning or yesterday afternoon. This was at 4, came back. So now we have a 3.5. If you want the Browns plus 3.5, it's heavily juiced. It's basically a 3. And this was a 4. Wild. We get to the cash flow for this one. We have, sorry, give me a second. Here we go. We have 9% of the tickets and 94% of the cash on the Jaguars. It's fascinating. I'm surprised at that split. 21% of the tickets and 61% of cash on the under. The Browns coming off that embarrassing 33-17 home loss to the Cowboys. Halftime, they were down by 17. They'd had just 1 first down, and they were being outgained 216-54. Deshaun Watson was terrible. I know that almost nobody likes him as a person, and it kind of compounds all of that when he plays terrible. And that's what he did. He was so bad. 24-45 for 169 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, ran 5 times for 39 yards. It was his first game since breaking a bone in his right shoulder in November. He didn't play during the preseason. The offensive line did a horrific job protecting him, sacked 6 times and hit 17 times. It was just his 13th game for Cleveland since signing a $230 million fully guaranteed contract in 2022. Njoku led receivers with 4 catches for 44 yards, but he left in the third quarter with an ankle injury. He's listed as week to week, so he's not going to be in the lineup this week. Jerry Jeudy caught 3 passes for 25 yards and a touchdown in his first game as a Brown. Cooper caught just 2 passes for 16 yards, but that's a little different. When we talk about some of these guys, like Drake London, some of these guys who didn't deliver, Cooper was targeted 9 times. So I don't see, he's not going to be sitting here upset. I mean, obviously Watson was trying to get to him. The offense was 2 of 15 on third down. The pass rush couldn't apply pressure on Dak. They did finish with 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. Tony Fields, linebacker, and Mohamed Diabate were both hurt. They're both listed as week to week, so they're both out. The defensive tackle Maurice Hurst is dealing with an ankle injury. He's also listed as week to week. So this doesn't, when you break it down in that form with another sex assault charge hanging over Watson, it doesn't, when you break it all down, it doesn't feel like this bounce back spot or a buy low spot. The Jaguars coming off a 2017 loss in Miami, they held a 17-7 lead at halftime and were shut out in the second half. Trevor Lawrence, 12 of 21 for 162 yards and a touchdown. And, 1,000-yard receiver Calvin Ridley now with the Titans. So the questions all offseason was, does he have suitable weapons? Are you giving him the opportunity to succeed? Because if you compare it to CJ Stroud, all they're trying to do is give CJ the opportunity to succeed. Stephon Diggs they bring in Mixon, who I definitely underestimated. He was a monster. But here you have Gabe Davis catching 3 passes for 62 yards. 23rd overall pick Brian Thomas Jr., obviously drafted to replace Calvin Ridley, caught 4 for 47 and a touchdown. Christian Kirk caught just 1 pass for 30 yards. Bigsby led running backs with 12 carries for 73 yards. Travis Etienne, 12 carries for 44 and a touchdown. 2 catches for 15 yards. That was a game-changing goal line fumble. Scores tied 17-17 in a game-changing goal line fumble. The defense looks strong. They allowed a couple of big plays. The one that hurt the most, that 80-yard TD pass to Tyreek Hill after that Etienne goal line fumble. I mean, that's the breaker of backbreakers. Trayvon Walker had 6 tackles and 2 sacks. Eric Armstead also had a sack. Tyson Campbell left with a hamstring injury in the fourth quarter, and he's listed as doubtful this week. He's an important quarterback. Saturated says Browns deserve to suck. They need to cut ties. True Love Butler says, Jimmy, remember, a lot of these guys didn't play preseason, so get it early and get the bag. BJ says, Browns spot with the points. I don't trust the Jags to win games by margin against good teams. Take it away for us here, Troy. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on the Browns debacle and whether this is a buy low spot, or is this, as Shea Hillenbrand once wrote on the chalkboard of the Toronto Blue Jays clubhouse, he wrote, this is a sinking ship. And I was still to this day shocked that nobody punched him in the face. You'd think with all the steroids that Greg Zahn was doing that he might flip the switch, but no, he went and got a coffee. That's why Hillenbrand was right. That was a sinking ship. Is this a sinking ship after one game? Take it away, Troy.
It's hard not to see it that way. I mean, Watson had more passes that landed out of bounds than inbounds. Over 50% of his passes landed out of bounds. I'm talking about simple 8-yard hitch routes that were airmailed, 5 yards out of bounds, not even on the white. It was embarrassing. He could not, you could tell he was trying to get a read on what the defense was doing pre-snap, and then as soon he definitely couldn't make any adjustments post-snap, certainly not quick enough. And you can't do that versus the Dallas pass rush or the Dallas defense in general. It's like Watson sucked the life out of this entire team, defense included, and I think it's time to eat the loss and move on from Watson. I'm finally saying it. You haven't heard me say that before. And the rest of this offense is really hard to assess because Watson is so ass. He's so bad. I know they're missing some pieces. They no Chubb yet, right? They have 2 offensive linemen. It's Conklin. He ain't coming back. So it's hard to say that this is a buy low spot in the Browns. Now, if I got the news that famous Jameis was going to take the reins, I think I would trust the Browns a lot more to cover a number. You look at this defense, PFF got them graded at 10th overall. How could they be 10th if they allowed 37 points to the Cowboys? I mean, all signs kind of point back to Watson. He's cancerous, man. The pass rush graded as 3rd, coverage 15th, run defense 11th. They struggle against the run from time to time because their defensive ends just get way too far up the field. I don't know why they haven't fixed it yet, but I think the unit will be fine. They just need to be injected with some life, remove the cancer, get rid of Watson. It's time to move on. Eat the loss. It's over. And the Jaguars, I mean, I'm the exact opposite. I'm bearish on the Jaguars. The script was completely flipped in the second half. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was seeing in the first half. I was questioning my handicap on this team. And then watching what they did in the second half, I mean, they were completely uncompetitive, in my opinion. I know there was a goal line fumble that changed the complexion of the game. But, I mean, the number of plays per possession in the second half was 3.5. They averaged 3.5 plays per possession in the second half. That's just despicable. And it's the same old story with Jacksonville. Bad offensive line play, bad offensive scheme. And with those two things come bad execution. I mean, they had the worst run-blocking offensive line 2 consecutive years in a row. Well, right now they're at the bottom of the list, but last year they were as well. This team's still a fade, in my opinion. The Jags are weakest in 2 positional groups that I value the most, especially on the O-line there. And, this is definitely going to be a Browns or pass spot for me. But, I want to see Watson get removed from the equation before I move on it.
Saturated said there's a reason Brian Thomas Jr. led D1 in receiving touchdowns. I get that he's in to replace Ridley, and they're trying to do it through that route. And and I keep going back to CJ Stroud. I know that the Texans are putting together the pieces to make CJ Stroud the best he can possibly be. And I've always wondered if Jacksonville was doing the same or doing it properly. You know what? I think when it's said and done, I don't feel like I have an edge here. I do feel like it's a buy low opportunity on the Browns, but I don't really know what the hell's going on with Watson. And if I don't, then how can I put my money on it? I can't. I can sit here and guess, but I don't. This is too important to succeed and I'm not going to do that. So, I'm going to be off of this spot. I'm going to be off of it. I need to learn about it and learn about these teams. What did you think about this under, though, Troy? Did you have interest in the under? Because, one thing about the Browns was Ford didn't look bad last year, and I was that the offensive line was so strong, the whole team was so strong, because he didn't look like an RB1 at all against the Cowboys. And the Cowboys with Zeke and Dowdle looked like they had a better running game than the Browns, who have had such a dominant running game for so long. Did you have interest in the under? Again, and we can move on because I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, I don't feel very comfortable, but I would say that the database does lean under. Obviously, when the total's moving towards the under, the markets are so efficient historically that I do lean towards the under. And I would say that this is a Jags win, Browns cover spot.
Brady says, I think Browns and sports respond here. Coaches won Coach of the Year twice. The Browns are not quitting. I will be betting on the Browns defense this weekend and trust that head coach. Okay. And I get it. If I was just firing shots, I certainly would think this is a buy low opportunity on the Cleveland Browns. WD says Browns are a brown eye for the NFL. Ye old brown eye. Keep it out of there. Thank you, WT. That's a nice reference to the Costa Rican days, man. Got me in the brown eye. Let's roll on. Thank you, WT. It's been a while since I've used that term. 1 p.m. Eastern, Las Vegas Raiders 0-1 on the season. Ravens 0-1. We're at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. 81 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 8 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for Raiders Ravens. We have, sorry, get this up here. Where the hell is it? Here we go. We have the total sitting at 41.5. This also opened up at 42.5, very similar to the game we were just talking about, Browns, Jags. Let's get to the point spread here in this one. We have the Ravens 9.5 point favorites. It seems a little much. Opening up at -8, now -9.5. That 9.5 is juiced to -116. Feels like a 10 is coming. It's a lot of points. Let's get to the cash flow. Sammy Comer already saying, I have to bet the Raiders at this number. And Londo says he's on the Ravens -8 with confidence. Well, you got to feel good when you see it moving to -9.5. So I can completely understand feeling good in that spot. So let's take a look at the line history here. Or sorry, the cash flow here. We just talked about that line history for Ravens Raiders. We have 19% of the tickets and 81% of the cash on the Baltimore Ravens. 19 and 81. Market moving very quickly in their direction. 15% of tickets and 56% of cash on the under. This has gone from 42.5 down to 41.5. So let's go. Coin says teams playing a second straight home game in week 2 and are favored have gone 13-8 straight up, but 5-16 against the spread over the last 12 seasons. And that's in reference to Cleveland, Jacksonville. It also, of course, because the Ravens were KC. Raiders got their season off to a disappointing start. 22-10 loss at the Chargers. Minshew's first game as a Raider. 25-33 for 257 yards, a touchdown, interception. He also lost a fumble. If I told you that Minshew went 25-33 for 257 yards, touchdown, interception, you'd say, well, it's a pretty good game. But Raiders probably covered. Jacoby Myers caught 3 passes for 61 yards. Devontae Adams caught 5 for 59. And Brock Bowers, healthy enough to go, 6 passes, 58 yards. Zamir White ran 13 times for 44 yards, lost a fumble that hurt a lot. And BJ says Ravens finna beat the shit out of the Raiders. Good parlay piece here for our guy BJ. Spetty says Ravens are nothing but probably pass here. And Dennis Garcia says haven't bet anything here. Might bet Baltimore team total over. Madison ran 5 times for 19 yards. He did catch 4 passes for 43 yards and a touchdown. The offense had 1 appearance in the red zone. You would think if Minshew throws for 257 yards, they would have been in the red zone a few times. The pass rush struggled. Max Crosby had the 1 sack. They did get 5 hits on Herbert. I don't remember them, but they only allowed the Chargers to get 11 first downs. They held them to 4 of 15 on third down. Defensive end Tyree Wilson suffered a knee injury. It's a sprained knee. He's not being ruled out this week, but I don't think he plays. The Ravens coming off extra rest after their 27-20 loss at Kansas City on the opening Thursday night of the season. They've now lost 5 of their last 6 to the Chiefs, including last year's AFC Championship. Jackson was 26-41 for 273 yards and a touchdown. He also ran 16 times for 122 yards, lost a fumble. It was very interesting seeing Isaiah Likely as the number one threat offensively. Andrews, I think 2 catches. I don't even know if I wrote it down. 2 catches for like 16 yards. Likely caught 9 passes for 111 yards and a touchdown, and he was, half inch away from another touchdown. Rashad Bateman was next, 2 catches, 53 yards. Derrick Henry ran 13 times for 46 yards and a touchdown. The offense looked good. I mean, they outgained the Chiefs 452-353, 7-14 on third down, won the time of possession battle 33-43 to 26-17. How did they not cover? All these stats would point you in the direction of covering, wouldn't it? They struggled in the red zone 1 of 4. There's the problem. The Ravens got pressure on Mahomes, but they struggled with the speed of Xavier Worthy in the secondary. I mean, he was flying. They finished with 2 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Roquan Smith had an interception. They held the Chiefs to 1 of 3 in the red zone. Kyle Van Noy left because of an eye injury. He fractured his orbital bone. It's unclear how long he's going to be out for, or if he's even going to still be able to play. It's unclear. I don't know if anybody knows. But he did fracture his orbital bone, Kyle Van Noy. Take it away for us here, Troy. Next spot on the board, Raiders, Ravens.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Raiders coaching completely blew this game. Going for it on 4th and down, 4th and 1 in their own territory, then punting it on 4th and short in their opponent territory late in the game, down with the game on the line 2 times. It's pretty much one of the worst decisions I think I've ever seen. Their win rate, their win probability went plummeting as soon as they punted the ball away. And it's hard to pinpoint what the worst part of this offense is. The scheme itself, Getsy is not worthy of an offensive coordinator position. Gardner Minshew is capable of making plays like he did, 1 or 2 what the fuck type of moments with the half pass lateral bullshit turnover that he did before half. I definitely wasn't impressed with this Raiders offense, but looking at the numbers on paper, right, they should have covered. Watching that game, you feel like they should have covered. And the Raiders defense, I mean, I feel like the box defenders graded out very well. And I agree with the grades that they were given. I think Crosby opened up plenty of opportunities for his teammates with all the attention he's demanding. The defensive backfield kind of lived up to their subpar expectations. And overall, my stance with the Raiders defense is they're probably better than the market perceives. And looking at the Ravens, just Lamar Jackson, he's just RB1. Instead of franchise quarterback, he just reverts back to his old ways. As soon as he feels any sort of discomfort, he aborts mission. It's 16 carries, man, 130 yards or whatever it was. I mean, the complete mistrust of his new offensive line was apparent. And despite that, they graded out as 8th in pass blocking, only allowed pressure on, I don't know if this is inaccurate, 2% to dropbacks is what was on Pro Football Reference. Despite the loss on paper, I mean, they had 100 more yards than Kansas City, much better on third down. Ultimately, a few inches from covering, if not winning outright. But Lamar Jackson just can't be trusted to deliver from the pocket. And if you can't deliver from the pocket, your chance to win the Super Bowl are slim to none. But I do think that this offense improves as the season goes on. But how far can Lamar take you? The Ravens defense, not a great performance. Only 1 player graded out above average. Roquan Smith got absolutely exposed. Maybe age is starting to show in his where he's at in his career. Or Mahomes is just that good. The D-line couldn't get pressure. They couldn't get anything going on first and second down. They were terrible. This is just a tough game. Historically, the dog covers in this market, especially when the line's moving towards it, getting up to the 10 range. It would say the value's on taking the points. But with the Ravens coming off a loss, line moving in their way, how can I possibly fade them in the spot? I'm not going to be interested in having an investment in this game.
I'm not interested in either. I understand the move to the Ravens, and I understand for those of you with a Ravens -8 in your pocket to feel bullish and great. I get all that, but it's getting a little much now at 10. The Raiders were much better than the score indicated. Jared TG saying that punt was a fireable offense. But let's be honest, we all knew Pierce wasn't cut out to be a head coach. He's a rah-rah, let's go football guy. He's a perfect defensive coordinator. They want to run through a brick wall for him. It's probably a buy low spot for the Raiders, but I don't find it appealing
You should have read The Undoing Project. Just because you miss a 4th and 1 in your own territory in the first quarter doesn't mean you don't go for it.
Exactly. Yeah. No, absolutely. That would be right there. That'd be there's so many. I mean, that book just constantly is in my thoughts every single day, capping. Let's move on past this one. Raiders, Ravens, no action for us. Next up, 4:05 p.m. Eastern, we get into afternoon action. LA Rams at Arizona Cardinals, State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. McVay consistently gets more out of this Rams team than I expect. He just, he's a really good coach. Now, there were some possible coaching mistakes in that game, but I still really respect what he gets out of the team. And I knew that this defense would be good. And I told you guys I wanted them to make the playoffs at -115. It went down to -105. I got cold feet and I didn't move on it. And I don't know what to do here. Arizona has gone from, depending where you look. Here, they open up -1 at -108. They're now -1 at -115. That's at Pinnacle. Let's go over to Bet Online. Bet Online opened this up with the Arizona Cardinals at +2.5. That's a big difference. Bet Online getting their action out faster. They opened up at +2.5 on Sunday at 7:27 p.m. Then on Monday at 11:10 a.m., this is a 1. On Monday at 2:48 p.m., it's a pick'em. And then the Cardinals become favorites. So it is a sort of a dog to favorite situation, depending on where you're looking. From a totals perspective here, we have I'll move back over to Pinnacle. We have a 49.5 -118 to the under. This opened up 49.5 -104 to the under. There's been 14 cents of movement at Pinnacle on this under. Jermaine Connolly says, give me the Cardinals in this one. Al Cervix says Rams all day. And Dennis Garcia says, I love the under. Might have to bet the Rams with all this money on Arizona. Let's take a look at that cash flow here for this one, our first afternoon game. On the docket, we have 43% of tickets, 38% cash on the under. It's 57 and 62 on the over. On the spread, the Rams have 18% of the tickets, but 97% of the cash. Interesting to see it moving towards the Cardinals, but maybe we should be looking at the money line. On the money line, same deal. 70% of the tickets and 74% cash on the Rams and moving towards the Cardinals. Wild. Rams coming off that tough 26-20 overtime loss at the Lions. Stafford 34-49 for 317 yards, touchdown and a pick. Cooper Kupp matched a career high with 14 receptions. He had 110 yards receiving. Had to step up after Puka Nacua left the game in the first half with a knee injury. He had caught 4 passes for 35 yards, and he's going on injury reserve expected. As of this morning, he wasn't put on injury reserve yet, but Tyler Johnson caught 5 passes for 79 yards. Colby Parkinson caught 4 for 47, and DeMarcus Robinson caught 4 for 42. Kyron Williams ran 18 times for 50 yards and a touchdown. Let's talk about why the line's moving away from the Rams, and it's what's happening on their offensive line. So Joe Noteboom carted off the field in the second quarter. He suffered a high ankle sprain. He's out for 3 to 4 weeks. He was starting in place of Alaric Jackson. He's got the 2-game suspension for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy, so they don't get Alaric Jackson back till game 3. Left guard Steve Avila went down with a knee injury during the game. He's going to be placed on IR. He hadn't been placed as of this morning. Guard Kevin Dotson day-to-day with a lateral ankle sprain. And the offensive tackle, Rob Havenstein, already banged up. I mean, how do you handle that? And we know that Stafford's getting old, and I mean, he's not fleet of foot. Despite the missing pieces on the offensive line, which will hurt them more, in this game. It's going to hurt more and more in each game as they move forward. They've still put up 387 yards, but the problem was they were 2 of 5 in the red zone. The defense looked very strong in their first game with Aaron Donald. Pass rush, 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Jared Verse had his first sack of his career. Johnson had an interception. Held the Lions to just 2 of 4 in the red zone. Held the Lions to just 7 first downs through the air. Cardinals come in off a 34-28 loss at Buffalo in week 1. They were up 17-3 late in the first half, but couldn't hold on to the lead. Kyler Murray, 21-31 for 162 yards and a touchdown. Also ran 5 times, 57 yards, lost a fumble. 3-6 now as a starter since returning from the ACL injury. Dortch led receivers with 6 catches for 47 yards. James Conner ran 16 times for 50 yards and a touchdown, caught 3 for 33. Marvin Harrison Jr., very quiet in his NFL debut, caught 1 pass for 4 yards, was targeted 4 times, but the defense looked vulnerable throughout. Bills put up 352 yards of offense on them. Kaiser White and Budda Baker combined for 21 tackles, but Pass rush finished with 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. DJ Dallas did return a kick, 96 yards for a touchdown. First kickoff return for a touchdown in the new rules. Cornerback Max Melton is in concussion protocol. And then offensive tackle Jonah Williams left the game with a knee injury. He's listed as questionable this week. So a lot of moving parts. Take it away, Troy. Rams, Cardinals. You're muted, my man.
I mean, when you look at this game, the first thing I have to start with is the fact that the Cardinals are favored. Should make this one very simple. It's Cardinals or pass. The fact that the market's moving towards Arizona and we got this high total makes me like it even more. I don't know if I'm ready to go back to the well with the Cardinals here in week 2. But, I mean, the fact that they're favored is extremely telling, in my opinion. Definitely a shot when you look at the numbers. I mean, Rams had the worst grade on the offensive line, and it's a combination of a bunch of things, right? Injuries, a great defensive line, and Puka, he's also out. That's a huge load to carry for Stafford and McVay, which they continue to show that they can carry. But it's just hard to keep putting your money behind that. And defensively, I mean, some of this young talent absolutely balled out with first Kobe Turner, the secondary graded out as top 5 in coverage. The Donald List defense might be better than we thought. And as it goes for the Cardinals, I mean, they are who we thought, right? Offensively, they met expectations. Just what we talked about, ability to put up points. Defensively, they had some major issues, which we should know. Half the defensive line got dominated all game. The right side of their defensive line was terrible. Kaiser, White, Wilson, the 2 linebackers, were absolutely clueless in coverage. So you should expect that to continue. How are they going to defend Stafford and McVay in their scheme? I mean, I feel like this Cardinals defense should just abandon ship and deploy the Brian Flores scheme. Blitz or drop 8, no in between. It might be time to go back to the Cardinals. I'm considering it. It's a divisional matchup. Line's moving towards the Cardinals, short number. It fits my criteria, and it's hard to do because the Rams look so appealing at this number. But come on, it's got to be Cardinals or pass.
Birdie says the key in this game, however, is the Rams defense. Lions had to drive the field to get a field goal just to get to overtime. Lions offense is pretty good. Rams defense did pretty good. Dennis Garcia, Arizona first half on offense, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, halftime. Sharpie in the house. He's already moved on the Broncos team, total under 17.5. Of course, Sharpie was our co-champion alongside Guillermo Zertucci in the Cappers contest last year. Birdie says not to worry. Rams won a Super Bowl with Stafford and Cooper Kupp. They're fine without Puka. Shout out to Dylon in the house. Yeah, I don't. Dennis Garcia said the Rams have no offensive line. Played on Sunday night versus Detroit. Playoff revenge game. Now back-to-back road games. I don't love it. I just know that the Rams with McVay are more than the sum of their parts, and I don't want to fade them. But this is they certainly can't back them with the offensive line issues right now. I don't want to bet against them. I never want to bet against them. I just don't want to do it. And but this market is screaming that the Cardinals are the play at home, and maybe they are, but I'm not going to do it. I just there's lots of spots I'm attacking on this card, and this just doesn't appeal to me. So let's roll on. 4:25 p.m. Eastern, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Denver Broncos. Shout out to Birdie backing the Steelers. Certainly was a lot of love for the Falcons, and the Steelers were tried and true. They played a hell of a game. 6 field goals. Boz, man, what a monster. And then he had the punt at the end of the game. And Power Field at Mile High, Denver, Colorado. 85 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 7 miles per hour. Take a look at the line history here for this one and get into the cash flow. We have the total at a very, very low 36.5. This opened up at 37.5, has dropped 36.5, slightly juiced to the over. Let's get to the point spread in this one. We have the Broncos at Pinnacle right now at +3 at -120. They opened up +3 at -123. It's funny. This line's moved a lot. So this opens up with the Broncos at +3 at -123. This was a +3 at +110. This was a clear 2.5 for a while. Now it's back at 3 and heavily juiced at 3. Very interesting. Let's get to the cash flow then for this one. We have 10% of the tickets and 93% of the cash on the Pittsburgh Steelers. We have 8% of the tickets and 46% of the cash on the under, a low under. A Unique says this is too low of a total here. Sammy Comer says Fields a field goal favorite on the road, ? It's too bad we're not going to get to see Russell Wilson going up against these Broncos, but we're not. Steelers got their season off to a great start with an 18-10 victory at Atlanta. Sharpie says Bo Nix is not ready for the Steelers D. He looked bad versus Seattle, and this ain't Seattle D. This is a healthy Pittsburgh D. Fields expected to get another start for the black and yellow. 17-23 for 156 yards. He also ran 14 times for 57 yards. George Pickens, 6 catches for 85 yards. No other receiver caught more than Freiermuth, 27 yards. Najee Harris ran 20 times for 70 yards. Steelers offense looked decent, but couldn't get into the end zone. Had to settle for those 6 Chris Boswell field goals. 3 of those field goals were from 50 plus. And then he had to handle that crucial punt. Cameron Johnston was injured, and Boswell had a pretty nice punt in the closing minutes there. Johnston's done for the year. So the Steelers signed Johnston in the offseason after releasing Presley Harvin. He had been their punter for 3 seasons. Nobody signed Harvin. So I imagine that Harvin, who's a free agent right now, will then sign with the Steelers. I don't know if that happened today. I imagine that's going to be the case unless there's a reason why they stayed away from him. I don't know the situation. They were 8 of 17 on third down, but just 0 of 2 in the red zone. Held the ball for 35 minutes and 36 seconds. But as Sharpie was saying, this healthy veteran defense looked excellent. Pass rush finished with just 2 sacks, but got 7 quarterback hits on Cousins. Held the Falcons to 2 of 9 on third down and 1 of 2 in the red zone. Dante Jackson, Deshaun Elliott each had interceptions. Broncos coming up that 26-20 loss at Seattle. Bo Nix, 26 of 42 for 138 yards and 2 picks. Also ran 5 times for 35 yards. The offense only had 231 total yards. That 35 yards rushing that Nix had led the Broncos in rushing. Julian McLaughlin was next with 10 carries for 27 yards. He lost a fumble. It did not look good. Josh Reynolds caught 5 passes for 45 yards to lead the receivers. And Devon Vele, I always screwed up. Devon Vele caught 8 passes for 39 yards. They were held to 5 of 18 on third down, just 1 of 4 in the red zone. The defense was pretty strong. They held the Seahawks to just 1 failed red zone opportunity and just 158 yards through the air. They also scored 2 safeties. Jonathan Cooper was excellent on the pass rush. 2 sacks. Those were the only sacks the Broncos had, and 4 of their 7 quarterback hits. Alex Singleton had an interception. They lose Garrett Bowles, their left tackle, to an ankle injury. The X-rays have come back negative, so he's not going to be put on IR, but is he going to be available to play here? Take it away for us here, Troy. Afternoon action, Steelers, Broncos.
Yeah, I'm going to have to spend a little bit more time with this game. I'm going back and forth. I just don't understand how Tomlin does it. He just he just knows how to push the right buttons, get his guys to drink the Kool-Aid. Somehow Justin Fields understands his role as a quarterback. Just don't fuck it up. Only one good option. They have George Pickens, who I think has potential to be a top 10 wide receiver. The offensive line is bad. The skill positions are worse. And defensively, we know what we're going to get out of the Steelers defense. I mean, fantastic at the line of scrimmage. Can they stay healthy? They're getting a little old. Queen in the linebacker group, I think, is huge to help this secondary because he's great in coverage. When he definitely relieves some of the pressure that's on the secondary and how bad they were last season. And Bo Nix on the other side of the ball. I mean, you look at his stat line, it looks really bad, but that's to be expected. A rookie on the road in Seattle. He dropped back 42 times, and I've seen a lot of scrutiny about him dropping back so many times. And I think it's actually, hey, take it easy. We're talking about a rookie quarterback on the road. I think they're trying to figure out what he's going to be, trying to develop him as fast as possible. The best way to do that is to have him drop back. Now, what matters more, developing a young quarterback or winning week 1 on the road as a dog, as a big dog? I watched a little bit of film on this game. I went back and I probably watched 2 or 3 series for Bo Nix. I think he had a little bit of composure in the pocket. It kind of reminded me a little bit of C.J. Stroud in Baltimore in week 1 of last year. I don't want to say that he's the next C.J. Stroud because I was actually really low on Bo Nix. But I think in spite of some of the options at receiver, this offense should look better as the season goes on. Broncos defense much better than they were in 2023, but they still struggle to stop the run. But they're dealing with talent everywhere on Seattle, right? On that roster, they're way more concerned with Metcalf, and they're tied up with a lot more of the receiving assets that they have. They're not going to have that in this matchup. So this is a really difficult game, in my opinion. There's so many ways you could slice it. I'm going to wait for this market to develop. Obviously, short home dog. Has this line been kicking towards the under at all? Because obviously I think about unders. It has from 37.5 to 36.5. And you look at the Steelers on the road as favorites over the last 2 seasons, 4 games, they were favorites over the last 2 seasons. 3 of them were last year. They're 3-1 ATS, 3-1 straight up, 4-0 to the under, and the unders are right up against the total. Like there's like no room for error. So I don't know what to do with this game. I really don't. I'm more confused now than I was pre-flop.
Simply, I want to back the Steelers, but watching this market sway makes me feel like I'm, the short road favorite walk into a trap. So I wanted to hear what everybody thought about the Broncos, and this will be a difficult spot for Fields, and I still don't fully know what we're getting from this Broncos defense. I thought they looked pretty good against the Seahawks. I mean, what do you think of the Seahawks through the air? I know that Geno Smith is not, an elite quarterback, but they have elite weapons and a real danger at running back. So you have to be wary of, all fronts. And Seahawks only threw for 158 yards against the Broncos. That maybe we just bet the under, even though it's 36.5, and just move on. Instead of, I don't want to get too caught up in what we just saw from the Steelers. I wasn't on the Falcons. I have no futures on the Falcons. I have nothing to do with the Falcons. So, but I wasn't sharp.
I think that looking at these numbers, it's going to be so tight. I think these markets are so efficient, especially in games like this with low totals, a field goal, 1 possession spread. This is, and at the total at 36.5. I mean, it's so sharp. This is one of the sharpest markets I've ever seen in the database. Meaning it's going to land right on the total, right on the spread.
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel that too. I don't feel the need to take the. I would be buying the Steelers high. That's the problem. I can't get past that. This would be a buying the Steelers high spot, and I don't want to ever do that. Yeah. So I do like the under. I think that it's sharp. I think it takes balls to bet an under 36.5. I'm very comfortable doing that. Dennis says the Steelers scored 0 touchdowns. It's not like they're good. Yeah, it's I think the under is it. I mean, it's one of those very scary unders because it's at 36.5. Jermaine says going down to 34.5. I don't know about that. I mean, that's just so low. Brady says just give me a path to score 13 points for the Broncos. I mean, if that's the case, the Steelers should cash. We're getting towards the 2.5 range now. I mean, if this goes to 2.5, I don't know how you could have confidence in the Steelers on the road. If this stays at a 3 and it's a juice 3 for the Steelers, I think you can have confidence. The 2.5, I think, is telling. After watching the first game for the Steelers, first game for the Broncos, I don't know how you would want the Broncos here. The Steelers their defense is healthy. A healthy old defense. We knew they were going to start strong. I hate that I wasn't on them last week. I just got, I wasn't against them, but I hate that I wasn't on them. Brady said, I don't think the Steelers are buy high. He says, I think the market was wrong on them to begin with. I'm going to move on the under, Troy. I'm going to move on the under as soon as this is over. This show's over. I'm going to move on. Let's roll on. Next up for us, 4:25 p.m. Eastern, Cincinnati Bengals at Kansas City Chiefs. We're at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. 85 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here. We have just 2 games after this one. We have the Kansas City Chiefs at -6 at plus money, which means that 5.5s could be coming. And we know how dangerous. There's 5.5 at Bookmaker, 5.5 at Bovada. And we know how dangerous these 5.5s dogs are. There's no doubt in my mind this was buy low spot on the Bengals, and we know that Joe always plays the Chiefs hard. But going through the X's and O's of what we saw the Bengals do, and my concern was their defense. It wasn't even their offense, and their offense no shows. And I don't believe just because, I think allowing 16 points to the Patriots shows that they're a bad defense. And that doesn't surprise anybody. We expected them to be a bad defense to begin with. So here we go. We have the total at 47.5. This opened up at 47. It's a half-point move to the over. Let's get to the cash flow then on this one. We have 16% of the tickets and 88% of the cash on the Chiefs. I'm surprised 84% of the tickets would be on the Bengals. I know we're only talking about 12,939 tickets, and we're going to have 400,000 bet on the game, but that's surprising. 68% of tickets and 60% of cash on the over, and the market's moving in the direction. BJ says the Bengals are the play. Bengals come off a disastrous 16-10 loss at home to the Patriots start their season. Joe Burrow, 21 of 29 for 164 yards. BJ says his second favorite play is Bengals +6. There's big show picks in the house. Londo said he took the Bengals +5.5. He says, call me crazy. Burrow and the Bengals have owned the Chiefs. And Dennis Garcia says Burrow throwing to backups because their star receivers have temper tantrums all offseason. Harold Williams says KC or pass. And Rand says this could get ugly for the Bengals. Chiefs have wide receivers this year. Cincinnati went 3 and out on their first 3 possessions. You could tell they were in trouble. Gesicki tried to catch that at the corner of the end zone. Replay showed he didn't have control. And then the next play, Tanner Hudson just looked sloppy trying to get to the goal line there. But it was a great play by Kyle Duggar. And then Marcus Jones picked it up around 17 yards the other way. Jamar Chase played despite his discomfort with his contract, catching 6 passes for 62 yards. And thank God he was there because T. Higgins is out with a hamstring injury. He's not going to be available here. Zach Moss ran 9 times for 44 yards in the touchdown in his Bengal debut. The offense only put up 224 yards. Defense kept them in the game, held the Patriots to 1 of 4 in the red zone. The Patriots only got 120 yards through the air. Pass rush only got 1 sack, but got 7 quarterback hits. Birdie says, no bet for me here, but for me, it's Chiefs or nothing. Sometimes you have to trust what you see the week before. What has changed this week for the Bengals? Londo says, buy low spot. I see a bounce back week 2 for Bengals is a classic overreaction from week 1. I think that the Chiefs know that there's one quarterback who thinks that he can beat them. I think that Mahomes and the Chiefs want to take a sharpened chopstick and stab the Bengals in the larynx and watch them bleed out. They know that this is one quarterback and one team that has confidence playing them. So I feel a little nervous about the spot. The Chiefs began their attempt at becoming the first team in NFL history to win 3 straight Super Bowls. Off to a winning start, defeating the Ravens at home 27-20. They get extra rest when they face the Bengals here. We know what Reed does with extra rest. And in all this cap, there's no way I'm backing the Chiefs. I do think that it's a real nice buy low spot for the Bengals, but nothing I saw from them and nothing that's happening in these last couple of days discussing their injuries and what's going on with Jamar still without the contract. Nothing makes me think there's a good vibe going on there. So Mahomes was 20-28 for 291 yards and touchdown interception. Rashee Rice caught 7 passes for 103 yards. First round pick Xavier Worthy was explosive. He caught 2 passes, 47 yards and a touchdown. He had 1 carry for a 21-yard touchdown. They were just 1 of 3 in the red zone. We've seen that early in seasons where they don't click in the red zone. And as electric as they look offensively, they were unable to get pressure on Lamar Jackson. 1 sack. It was their lone hit on Lamar Jackson. The Ravens put up 452 yards of offense. They were strong in the red zone, holding the Ravens to 1 touchdown, 4 attempts. So I know it's just one game. But this offense with Xavier Worthy looks very scary. And this defense without L'Jarius Sneed looks like it's taking a step back. I think this is a very different team than we saw last year. A team that's still capable of winning the Super Bowl, but a very, very different team. And they're not going to take the Bengals lightly, even if the Bengals look terrible in week 1. Take it away for us here, Troy. A beauty. Bengals, Chiefs at Arrowhead.
I agree with you out of the gate that it's Bengals or pass for me. Surprise to everybody. I want to fade the Chiefs, but we know that Mahomes, he doesn't cover big numbers. He doesn't do it consistently, to say the least. I mean, but looking at the Bengals catching 6, it just kind of, it's mind-boggling. And it's telling, and it's a number that I get concerned about, especially being on the Jets just this past week. But looking at the Bengals offense, I mean, it was a team that's just not prepared. As usual, early in the season, Burrow can't cover spreads. Burrow, I don't want to know, is it Burrow or is it the Bengals? Who is it? I mean, it has to be Burrow, right? And I think that they're going to struggle, especially if they're going to be playing from behind against good defenses. But obviously, we know the upside potential with Burrow in this offense. Like, I don't want to sell him short. The Bengals defense, I mean, it was pretty much an easy task keeping the Patriots under the team total in week 1. We'll see what they're really capable of here in week 2. The Chiefs' offense was more impressive than it was in 2023. All these new toys for Mahomes definitely look better, but the O-line is still grading out towards the bottom half of the league. 24th in pass block, 18th in run block. This is what I expected. Better than last year, but not as good as not as good as it's been in the past. And the Chiefs defense, I kind of thought that they were overrated last year. They lose L'Jarius Sneed. I think you're right. I think they're taking a step back. And outside of the three guys that I called out last week on this show, with Chris Jones, Chenal, and McDuffie, everyone else graded out very poorly on this defense. They couldn't contain Lamar. I think mobile quarterbacks are going to be able to get to the Chiefs. They lost their QB contained dedicated spy with Gay from last year. Is he hurt or is he on another roster, Jim? KC linebacker, I forget his first name, last name Gay.
Yeah, Gay's gone, right?
Yeah, Gay's gone, I believe. And that's going to be a problem for it. But my opinion really hasn't changed with these two teams. Bengals, expect a slow start, expect high upside later in the season. The Chiefs, I still think they're due. Obviously high upside, but I think it's coming sooner or later.
Yeah, he's on the Saints.
He's on the Saints. They can't keep pulling out these games.
Don't write Gay NFL either, because
you never know what you can find. Maybe some old videos of me. No, but yeah, Bengals are pass, certainly. I think I have to bet it. We see where this market's moving. It opened above the 6. It's going to close below the 6. I think that's going to come. So why am I not going to move on the Bengals? Get a 6, and then when it drops below and it closes below the 6, we can move on the money line. I don't see why that would change. It's been the strongest trend. I'm telling you right now, if this is about to close on Sunday at 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, I'm going to be on the Bengals money line.
Let me ask you this, okay? And I know that a lot of, you have X's and O's. My mom was a shrink. My stepdad was a shrink. The Cowboys and the 49ers had key stars angry, upset. So they took care of them because they knew how important the locker room was. The only team that didn't take care of their superstars in the offseason, your Cincinnati Bengals. You have Higgins, who did not want to be tagged. They franchised him. He's pissed off. He hurts his hamstring. He doesn't give a fuck. You have Jamar Chase wanting the new contract. He doesn't get it. He still shows up. You have your key superstars angry, pissed off. Something the Bengals have a pretty rich history of, except for Joe Burrow, of not, giving the bag to their superstars. That's a problem. If that wasn't if Jamar Chase gets his new contract in the next few days, I'll move on the Bengals. But you think these guys are happy to be there? No, they're pissed off. They're not getting the respect. They're not getting the bag. And I don't care that the market is right in the range that I want so badly. I don't care. I don't care because of that. What do you think of that?
I think that's a good point. I mean, you're going to hold some remorse. You're going to be kind of low-key pissed off at upper management if you're not getting paid, especially when you feel like you deserve to be paid, which I believe these guys do. And they look around the league, everyone's getting paid. Where's their money, right? I get that. But then again, they're heading into Arrowhead to play KC, the defending Super Bowl champs. I think that they'll be up for this game regardless of where their situation is with the the back office.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to go against it because I agree with you. This is a buy low spot on the Bengals. The fact that it's gone to 5.5 at some books is extremely appealing. But there's two things here. One, the star players are not happy, other than Joe. And the other thing is the Chiefs know that there's one team that's not afraid of them. And they want to make them afraid of them. So I'm not. Preston says Jamar Chase does not want to suit up. He could give a damn about this game. His interviews are horrible for the team. So, yes, I'm not. In fact, though, I think the Chiefs team total over. Now, I think that there's a possibility. Now, there's a possibility. Like, I guess if this game goes over, you would think, oh, the Bengals must have helped that. But I honestly think there's a possibility. Look, I couldn't bet the Bengals win total over 9.5. I couldn't do it. It was pretty juiced too. That was part of it because the 10.5 was plus and the 9.5 was. But I couldn't do it. To think that their star linebackers are going to play all 17 games like they did last year. There's just. I think that the Chiefs team total over is what I'm going to move on in this one. I want to sit with.
I'm just going to say I would never be caught dead with Chiefs in my pocket if this line drops below 6. I wouldn't be caught dead. Not with any action on the Chiefs.
I hear you, and I'm not. I'm just going to wait here. What do you think of that total going from 47 to 47.5?
I don't think nothing of it because I know 48's the reactionary number. So if it gets up to, is that on its way? Well on its way to 48?
No.
I mean, the Chiefs couldn't apply pressure on Lamar Jackson. If you look at their pass rush grades, they were terrible. If you let Joe Burrow sit in the pocket.
Sorry, it got up to 48.5. I didn't realize that. I should have mentioned that. It was up at 48.5 at about 1 p.m. yesterday and stayed there until stayed there till about 11 p.m. at night yesterday. So it's actually dropped a point down to 47.5 despite it opening at 47, thinking that's gone up. Okay. Look, I get it. There's too many psychological things that are going to keep me off of trusting this market that's been so great to us. I just need everything to correlate if I'm going to bet it, and it doesn't for me. And I know you guys have every right to be confident with the Bengals here. Every right to
I've moved on the +6 since we've been talking.
Okay.
+6 minus 110.
Okay, Troy on Bengals +6 minus 110.
I might not be able to post this later in the week. It depends on something that's currently developing, but
yeah,
the money line will definitely be in my pocket if this closes below 5.5. 100%. Below 6, excuse me, 5.5 or below. I'll be on the money line.
Yeah, and we'll count it with our record keeping here. Ziggy says, I love the Bengals against the spread. Total overreaction on the spread. No one wants to bet this week after last week. Bengals defense, always good versus Chiefs and the Bengals defensive coordinator. Look, I get it. I get it. I completely get it, but it's not for me. It's not for me. There's a problem. Every other team fixed the problem with their superstars. They didn't want to have whiny superstars all year. The Bengals didn't. And I'm surprised that they didn't. Let's move on to the Sunday nighter, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. We'll be live right here for it. Chicago Bears at Houston Texans, Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas. Let's get into the line history for this one. We'll start with this total. Total sitting at 45.5 right now at Pinnacle. It's right where it opened. Has not moved. It actually hasn't moved. At one point, there was a 1 cent move to the over, and it came back. So it has not moved. 45.5, slightly juiced to the under. Let's get into the spread here with this one. On the spread, we have a 7, not a legit 7. This opened up as a legit 7. This opened up -7 at even money for Houston, and then it got into plus money. This got up on Sunday night to plus 111. It was a 6.5. Now it's come down to plus 104. So just 4 cents of movement or actually 5 for the Bears. They've gone from minus 112 to minus 117. They got up to minus 125 at one point, but they're minus 117 right now. Let's get into, okay, there we go. Let's get into I did the total. Let's get into the cash flow here for this one. We have 10% of the tickets and 92% of the cash on the Texans. We have 28% of tickets and 55% of cash on the under. Somehow, the Chicago Bears are 1-0. Despite not scoring an offensive touchdown, Caleb Williams going 14 of 29 for 93 yards, the Bears pulled out a victory. In the Super Bowl era, Troy, teams that have scored 0 touchdowns and trailed by 17 or more points are now, thanks to the Chicago Bears, 3 and 1,225. That's what the Bears did.
Oh, that's sick. That is so fucking sick.
That's what the Bears did. DJ Moore led receivers with 5 catches for 36 yards. DeAndre Swift ran 10 times for 30 yards. The Bears defense stepped up in a big way. TJ Edwards was all over the field, 15 tackles and 2 for a loss. Pass rush finished with 3 sacks, 10 quarterback hits. Tyreek Stevenson returned that pick, 43 yards for a touchdown. Jalen Johnson had an interception. Chicago finished with 148 yards of offense and got its only other touchdown on special teams. Hardy blocked a punt, and Jonathan Owens recovered it, returned it 21 yards for a score. Rookie wide receiver Rome Odunze sustained a left MCL sprain. He is week to week. He played 77% of Chicago's offensive snaps. He only had 1 catch for 11 yards. The Texans' offense looked dynamite in their 29-27 victory at Indianapolis to start the year. They've now won 9 straight road games in division. We've got to keep an eye on that. You know they're going to want to hit double digits on that. CJ Stroud was 24-32 for 234 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nico Collins caught 6 passes for 117 yards, and their offseason acquisitions made a lot of noise. Stephon Diggs caught 6 passes for 33 yards and 2 touchdowns. I know that 33 yards isn't much, but those were big touchdowns. And, you know, this is a contract year for him and for Nico. Joe Mixon, I underestimated him. A couple guys did this to me. He did it to me the worst, man. He ran 30 times for 159 yards after the negative shit I said about him. That's the highest single game rushing total since he gained 165 yards against Pittsburgh in November 2021. I mean, sometimes when you're wrong, you can be really wrong. And I guess hopefully it happens early in the season and not late in it. Texans had 26 first downs, put up 417 yards. They were 3 of 3 in the red zone, had the ball for 40 minutes. Pass rush needs to do more. They finished with 2 sacks. Those are the lone hits on Anthony Richardson. And as we talked about with the Colts game, the Colts put up 7 yards per play. The reason why the Texans won is because they ran 33 more plays than the Colts. Kalen Bullock had an interception. Take it away for us, Troy. Bears, Texans, Sunday night in Houston, Texas.
What a terrible beat for all you Texans or all you Titans backers. That was god awful and pretty disgusting to watch because I knew my good friends were on the Titans. So, and that's a lot to say, knowing that you know, some of my family members are heavily invested in the Bears, but that's emotional. I'm more worried about what's affecting my pocket and your pockets. The offense was clearly not ready for the production that was expected by Bears Nation. The rookie quarterback who's expected to be the next Michael Jordan in a football form, who says he don't get nervous, was clearly rattled after just 1 possession. The offense was out of sync. Eberflus, I think he has too much input on that side of the ball. They have no real scheme. They have no formation sequencing. There's no fucking scheme. There's no rhyme or reason to the play calls, at least in my opinion. And the use of their weapons was obvious. I mean, if I was an offensive coordinator, I would just be watching Shanahan, Reed, and McVay just over and over and over to see what they're doing. The offensive line for the Bears surprisingly graded out top 10 in both pass blocking and run blocking. Still couldn't put up a touchdown. Just a pitiful performance from the offense. And obviously I expect them to be better as the season goes on. They got a rookie quarterback, but is it here on the road against the Houston Texans? It's just hard to imagine it is. And the defense did exactly what I said it would. And that's exceed expectations. They have elite talent in the secondary. They graded out second in coverage and an underrated defensive line, top 5 in pass rush. I think that some of the projections preseason were not accounting for the depth. I think the defensive line has depth. And I know this was a Will Levis-led Titans, but I expect them to continue to outperform their expectations. And the Texans, I mean, it's always a battle between the Colts and the Texans. Both of these teams are teams I have high expectations for. Stroud is elite, and now he has apparently has a complimentary running game, right? And if that's the case, if he has a running game to match the elite weapons and the offensive line, that's still not up to speed. But if they have that running game and they can lean on that, better put the league on notice, because this defense, I believe, will continue to get better week in and week out. I know that they allowed a lot of explosive plays against the Colts, and they graded out 24th or lower in overall D, run D, coverage, and pass rush. Does that speak to the Texans, or does that speak volumes about how good the Colts offense could potentially be? Yeah, the Bears are going to get better on offense over time. The Texans are going to be better on defense over time. It's a really tough number to get past. It's a big number with this Bears defense. I don't know how well they're going to hold up against these offensive weapons. I don't have an opinion on this game. I don't think I'll be betting it. I'm sure I'll find an angle, because I bet every primetime game pretty much. So we'll see how this develops later in the week.
Bears at Texans. I mean, Caleb Williams is going to have a better game here. It's easy to say that. And the Colts put up 7 yards per play against the Texans. Maybe Caleb got that horrific game out of the way with all the pressure on him, so expecting to be the superstar. And maybe he gets to roll in here kind of quiet, knowing that CJ Stroud is a superstar. And maybe the Bears are better here. At this point, I've not moved on it. Again, 6.5s are here. They're here at Bovada, and they're here at Pinnacle. Where do you need this line to end for you to move on Chicago?
That magical number 5, Jimmy. Give me a magical number 5, and suddenly,
or 5.5.
5.5, yeah. 5. Give me a 5.5. I won't move on it immediately. I want to see this close below that 6. And if I see that 6 moving towards the 5.5, I'll probably move on it. But I promise you, every game I see a line move from over 6, open over 6, and close below 6, I will be on that team. Money line as well.
Bears, Houston, Texans. I've not moved on this spot either. I want to see the market. We'll have our live stream here, so I don't mind going into it with no action. But for those of you watching this cut out of the show, I apologize for us having no action. Jeff Slaughter says Texans destroy.
Hey, do you think some cappers watch this show later in the week or during the week at some point, and they're like, wait, he's not going to take the 7? Like, they might not ever watch the show again after hearing what I just said, right? Not interested at a 7. No, I'm interested at 6 or below.
Well, we've discussed that heavily on the show, and you're not alone with that sentiment. Mr. Sean Higgs talking about that all the time as well. BJ says, give me the Dirty Birds on Monday Night Football. Let's roll over to Monday Night Football, our final game here on the show. The Atlanta Falcons. Talk about people who watch cutouts of the show get very angry when they see Falcons spelled wrong, and that's an apology for us. Canadians do pronounce Falcon a little different than Americans. I'm not going to say it the way Canadians say it because I need to keep saying Falcons. Let's roll here. Monday Night Football. We'll have a Monday night live stream. These Monday night live streams are so much fun. BJ says Hurts is trash. Hurts is trash. Let's roll into the line history here. These Eagles are opening up at -6 at Pinnacle, now -6.5, and it's juiced to -111. A 7 could be on its way. Let's take a look at the total. The total in this one is sitting at 46.5. This opened up at 48.5. So we've already dropped 2 full points down to 46.5. It is slightly juiced to the over. You can get 47s. The 47s are market wide. Pinnacle has moved it to the 46.5. So let's roll. BJ says fade the Eagles coming from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Let's talk about Lincoln Financial Field, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 73 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. And Slaughter says if Hurts is trash. Cousins is even more trash. Let's talk about the spot, and let's see that cash flow here for the Monday Nighter. We have 15% of the tickets on the Eagles and 94% of the cash in the market heavily moving in their direction. 53% of the tickets and 78% of cash on the under, and the market moving in that direction. The Raheem Morris era got off to a poor start, losing 18-10 at home to the Steelers. Kirk Cousins did not look good in his return from the Achilles injury. 16-26 for 155 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, sacked twice, 28.9 QBR, and he passed for 19 yards in the second half. Not what the Falcons were hoping for when they paid him $180 million, $100 million guaranteed. You know, the idea that the coaching staff has is that he is completely healed from his injury. Zach Robinson, the first-year offensive coordinator, believes he's completely healed from the injury. The Falcons ran a pistol or shotgun formation on 96% of their offensive snaps. Of the 26 snaps out of the pistol, they ran the ball 81% of the time, while they had 0 designated runs on 22 shotgun snaps. So the notion that he's not completely healed is supported by that play calling, despite them saying that he is healed. And nobody understands why still, and they won't ever, why you would give him that much money and then draft Penix 8 overall. There's no reasonable explanation for it. Nothing. The offense only produced 226 yards. Ray McLeod was the Falcons' leading receiver with 4 catches for 52 yards. Bijan Robinson ran 18 times for 68 yards, caught 5 passes for 43 yards. Kyle Pitts and Drake London combined for 5 catches and 41 yards. They were just 2 of 9 on third down. The defense was strong, or the Steelers' offense is very weak with Fields running the show. Pass rush got 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. They held the Steelers to 0 of 2 in the red zone. The Eagles come in off their 34-29 victory over the Packers in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It was a nice casher for all of us. Jalen Hurts was 20 of 34 for 278 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Hurts also ran 13 times for 33 yards. He fumbled twice, losing one of them. A.J. Brown had 5 receptions for 119 yards and a touchdown. Devonta Smith caught 7 for 84. And Saquon Barkley, what a monster, ran 24 times for 109 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also caught a couple passes for about 25 yards and another touchdown. It was a big deal to see him roll like that. 3-year deal for $37.75 million with 26 guaranteed. I think that's a fine price. Zach Bond was a menace defensively. He was all over the field, 15 tackles, 2 sacks. There were only 2 sacks for the Eagles. Reed Blankenship had an interception. It was a tough test for new defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. You know, it depends how you look at it. On one hand, they allowed 29 points and 414 total yards. On the other hand, they held the Packers at 3 of 11 on third down and 1 of 4 in the red zone. Devin White, ankle injury, didn't play. Take it away for us here, Troy. The Monday Nighter. The Eagles were very good to us last week. Are you using them again this week?
So I look at a lot of PFF grades, especially early in the season as we're learning these players. And I was completely surprised at this Eagles team. So offensive line, exactly what we expected. 5th in run block, 2nd in pass block. Wide receiver group, 2nd overall. Then you look at the pass and run categories. 31st in the NFL. Jalen Hurts graded out as the worst quarterback in week 1 per PFF. I mean, to achieve that type of grade, they measure every play between +1 and -1. You have to be so heavily skewed to the downside. It's sick. How did they come up with this grade? Then you go back and watch the film. Obviously, he clearly made some bad throws. He had the most turnover-worthy plays of any quarterback in week 1. And he clearly missed the RPO. Like, he could not read the linebacker correctly. He averaged 2.5 yards per carry. He should have gave the ball about 6 times that he kept the ball on RPO, and it cost him. But despite all that, right? Despite all that, they rushed for 145 yards. They generated 0.038 EPA per play, so they were positive. They went 3 of 6 in the red zone. I definitely see it differently. And obviously, some of the just early season jitters were definitely happening with the Eagles' offense. I mean, with the fumbles, the mistimed snaps. You know, you got the new center situation. You had the field, guys falling on the field early in there's some of the early possessions in that game. I expect the offense to look better, even though they did produce. The defense, I mean, they graded out as 22nd overall. They had consistent blown coverages with this zone match concept, which one guy stuck out to me. Well, actually, 2 guys stuck out to me. The first being Nakobe Dean. If you watch the film on Nakobe Dean, he looks completely lost out there. the cross match concept, it just doesn't click with him. I don't know what it is. This is a highly touted guy. I thought he'd be much better. I think he must be benched now after seeing that film. And then C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he's next on my list. Something looks wrong. It looks like he's on some shit, man. Like, I don't know, man. Just something just doesn't look right with him. And obviously the Falcons, this is the most underwhelming team in the entire week. The first game for Kirk was a complete disaster. 4.5 yards per play, 2 for 9 on third down, 2 INTs. The offensive line got destroyed, 31st in pass block. All this talent, excuse me, all this talent on offense, but Ray McLeod leads your team in receiving. Who knows what this offense will look like in the weeks to come. Penix might get his shot. Falcons defense. Why would they draft him one overall? If this offense continues, right, Penix is going to get a shot sometime. I believe this to be true. Falcons defense, 8th against the run versus a team that can't generate line yards. 30th in pass rush versus subpar offensive line. Can't generate pressure. You won't have success in modern day NFL. And how are you gonna fare out against the Eagles' offensive line? It's going to be pretty ugly. You really can't project what this defense is, especially looking at game one. You can't project the future for this defense based on what they did against the Steelers because the offense is so uniquely bad and conservative. I just can't help but I vividly remember the last time Kirk Cousins went to Philly and absolutely balled out and covered a spread just like this. He probably should have won that game as well. He lost, but they covered the spread. But I'm still looking towards Philly in this spot. I'm gonna remain tied to this Eagles team at least for the first 4 or 5 weeks.
The throw across his body that was intercepted in the end zone. I told you, I was like, it's in my nightmares, and you're like, it shouldn't be because we cashed. It's in my nightmares. I can't comprehend that a quarterback would make that decision. I had to get up and get outside and shake. I was beside myself with that horrific decision. There was a lot of hope for this Falcon squad coming in, and it feels like one bad game has squashed it all. This defense was so bad last year. It was horrible last year. So there was this belief that, Raheem Morris comes in, the defensive coordinator for the Super Bowl winning Rams, and then they bring in Judon, and that it would fix itself that quickly. But maybe there was a real depth to the problems of this defense. In saying all that, doesn't this have to be a buy low spot on the Atlanta Falcons? If you talked about those PFF numbers for Hurts and for the offense, can we look past what happened with Atlanta because Pittsburgh's veteran defense is healthy right now and playing? We knew they were going to start the year off well because they're not capable of making it through a 17-game season, that Steelers defense, because they're old superstars, but they're healthy right now. Can't we just say, look, the Steelers defense is absolutely elite. The Eagles defense is so weak. The secondary is so weak. This is a perfect buy low spot for the Falcons to be in this game, not win it, but be in it.
Yeah, no, I think that's completely reasonable, and I would be on them, but the line's moving the wrong way. It's in the right range. It's where I want it to be for a Falcons bet, but I want to see it moving the other way.
Yes, because it certainly looks, and let's go back, take one last look at it. It certainly looks like we are going to be getting the 7s. The Philadelphia Eagles are minus 111 right now on the 6.5, which means you want Atlanta. They'll give it to you a plus money, a plus 101. Okay, so let's talk about the total then. I don't trust the Falcons defense, even if it is better than last year. I don't care that they held the Steelers with Fields to no offensive touchdowns. The Eagles certainly don't look like they could play in a low-scoring game. You'd have to think that the public is going to be all over the over despite these primetime unders. Right now, 47% of the tickets are on the over and 22% of the cash. What is your thoughts on this total at 47 right now?
I would be leaning towards the under. This total's dropped a few points. It's a primetime game. It definitely is under a pass. I would not be on the over in this situation, even though you could definitely make a case if you want to buy low on the Falcons. That would, you could make a case for it. But based on the market history, I just couldn't do it in goodwill.
Yeah, at this point, I would love to sit here and say it's a great buy low spot for the Falcons, but with the way Kirk Cousins looks out there, bouncing back from that Achilles injury is going to take some time. And that defense was horrific last year. And, Raheem and Judon, it's going to take them a little while to change that scenario. And then I still don't know how good the Eagles are, because at times they look elite and at times they look like a non-playoff team. And that was, we saw both last year, 10-1 elite, fall apart down the stretch, get destroyed 32-9 by the Bucs in the wild card game. They didn't deserve to be there. So this is going to take more time. We'll have our live stream, so we'll be able to hammer away. But at this point, I've got so much action on these 1 p.m. games and not very much on the afternoon, evening games. Let's roll through all of our action here. Thank you guys for joining us. Week 2 of Bankroll Blitz. I'm going to move on that over in Buffalo, Miami. That's a 3.5 point move that I'm going to be standing in the face of. Something I rarely do. By the way, Birdie says that Falcons team total under will be on his card. Troy's on the Dolphins money line and the -2. Now the Dolphins money line is giving out for us. He got a boost on it for plus 106, but he's going to give it to us. We're keeping it for our record keeping purposes without the boost. I'm going to be on that over. I'm going to bet that as soon as the show's over. Then Troy is on the Cowboys -6 at -115, and he's got a Cowboys Colts money line parlay at plus 120. I want to join him on the Cowboys. Then I doubled up on Buccaneers, Lions, overs. I have the first half over 24.5. I have the full game over 51.5. Then we have both Troy and I on the Colts at -3, but I'm also on the under 41. I'm going to move on the under in Jets Titans as soon as this show is over. I'm already on the under 45.5 in 49ers Vikings. And Nutflush wants me to take a look at that Vikings team total under, which I'm really interested in. I'm going to move on the under 38 in Seahawks Patriots. Dennis got a 40. If that's going to cost me money, I deserve it to be taken out of my wallet. I still have interest in the Seahawks, but I don't know if I get there. Giants Commanders, no action. Troy's on the under 39 at -110 in Chargers Panthers. I'm betting that as soon as the show is over. Browns Jags, we stayed off. Raiders Ravens, we stayed off. And then afternoon, Rams Cardinals, we stayed off. I want the under. I'm going to bet as soon as the show's over on Steelers Broncos. It's very low. Troy's on the Bengals +6. And I think I'm going to be on the Chiefs team total over. We'll see. I expect to be on the Chiefs team total over, though. We'll see. Bears Texans, we stayed off. And the Falcons Eagles, we stayed off. There we go. Troy,
Jimmy, in addition.
Yes.
That you didn't cover. So you got the 2 unders that I bet, the 38 and the 39. I added Cowboys and Eagles money line parlay for -120. It's better than a teaser.
Sorry, let me just go up to the Cowboys game. So that is a Cowboys Eagles money line parlay. Sorry, Cowboys Eagles money line parlay at -120. Cowboys Eagles money line parlay. So this is a year 4 of NFL Pub Hub, Troy, and teasers have been I don't want just a very, very negative ROI from my colleagues on that show. Week 1 teasers got crushed again. I don't find it appealing at all from tracking as much as I have from my colleagues. I don't find the teasers appealing at all. I think they sound fun. And also teasers sound like, oh, of course that should hit. I don't like that. I don't like that in gambling.
Yeah, there's a few situations where I studied teasers more. These are more like traditional square teasers, like a Colts, like a Cowboys Eagles teaser, right? That's about as square as you can get. But if you look at my record last year and you look at my money line parlays, which is more like along the lines of Colts Cowboys, where you're getting plus money instead of laying the juice, I was extremely successful with those type of bets. So, but the teasers, the traditional teasers, I see what you're saying. And if anything, you should be on dogs, not favorites.
Well, that's the fun of tracking all of this. It helps me figure out what's working and what's not. And when it's negative, I don't usually share it too much publicly. I let the cappers know, but I don't want anyone to be embarrassed. Part of the transparency of the record keeping is for us to become better, not to make anyone look bad. But teasers they've not succeeded on NFL Pop Up at all, and we're now on season 4. And I'm going to add because you're right. I didn't add in my records. I haven't added your action and your teasers from last year onto that database. Well, I will do that. But that because you talked about it last week, and I'm telling you, man, that Bengals Colts teaser sounded so good. Like I thought about it all week. It was right in my wheelhouse. It sounded so good. It was 2 teams that I was on. So, and Preston says nobody ever teases underdogs. That is why they only tease favorites. Thank you guys so much. This is so important to success, is working out these games and breaking them down, and then hearing what you guys have to say in the chat is so important. So thank you for all that you guys do here in the chat. We have nothing without you guys. Jared TG, I'm That Heat, Birdie, Goran Ninkowski, Preston Ekdahl off of Perfection. I can't wait to talk about the perfect week bonuses from Harbor Acres Cottages. We get to talk about that on Thursday. Rants, Al Cervic, Saturated Young Native Tino. Thank you guys. For Flea Mathis, Abracadabra, thank you for being in the contest as well. Thank you all. Markel, BJ, Unique, Big Daddy Boom. Thank you guys. I think that I'm going to have a really strong few months here. And for those of you who've worked with me for years, I'm not doing Wednesday shows anymore. My ROI on Wednesday shows, after capping NFL all day, getting my action out at midnight, and then working on the card, was negative. And the stakes are too high. And so now Wednesdays is a full prep day for Thursday and Friday. And I think this is, unfortunately, Wednesdays I'm not going to be with you guys, and it's going to be betting with Bouquet. But I think you'll get the best out of me as we move forward when NHL and NBA come out. I don't want to be – I want, when you work with me, to not only get the information, but to see your bankroll grow. And so I talked with Jeff for a long time about this. So tomorrow will be the first Wednesday that I'm not there, and I'm going to prep for Thursday and Friday's capping, because I know this is supposed to be fun and we're capping together, but there's nothing more important than your ROI. And I was not.
It's hard. It's hard for people to realize the marathon that we go through to get ready from a Sunday to Tuesday. Like it's ridiculous, and I feel like I'm not even close to being finished.
No, I know it's a work in progress. So I love you guys, but I won't be rocking with you guys on Wednesdays anymore until probably mid-January, late January. But I will be putting my NHL out always every Wednesday, despite not being there with you guys. So we'll see if it works. This stuff is just too important to succeed. So thank you guys. Thank you to Jose on the 1s and 2s. Troy, I love working with you, and you're dealing with some adversity after week 1. And I know how you've handled adversity in your life. So I expect a huge monster week from you, my friend. Any last words for the Capper supporting the show?
Hey, I'll close it like I do every week. Best damn community out there, man. Post Sports Radio. Believe that. Tough week 1. But like you said, man, it's nothing I haven't seen before. We will endure. We will conquer this NFL season. Give it time. Give it a half a week because we're going to get there on Sunday.
I love it. I can't wait to get back to business, man. I can't wait to get my action in right now. And that's what I'm going to do. Thank you all for supporting our show. We will see you on Thursday. I will see you on Thursday. Thursday is the triple. Betting with the Bag, Cappers Contest show, and then Thursday night live stream. I'll be with you on all these live streams every night. Thank you guys. Perfect rotation. I'm that Heat. Betting with Snips Bouquet. You're damn right. Oldie, Gordon Nikowski, all you guys. Dougie Y, Saturated. Thank you guys. And Troy, thank you, my friend. Let's go get that cash. Let's have a big, big week too. Let's get it. We need it. When we do the work, let's reap the benefits and get the multiple cash.
Pub Sports Radio's the crew, that's a fact. We all about bread, making bank accounts fat. Who the hell is that? LJ from the H, I stack green like Boston. Shout out to Nasty Nate from down south, where we ride on slab. 420 highway smoking with that boy Dabby Cab. Swing by Dallas with them Cowboy fans so we can smoke out J Money, cause you know that's our mans. Us against the bookies, put money in our pockets. Fly out to Vegas, meet up with Ski Profit. Hit the sports books, we got money to stack. Can't forget them college picks with that boy Conor Mack.